Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Umineko, Chapter 5. This time, well, we've had this interesting trial where something that isn't quite true seems to be happening. You see, we've read truth, which is basically word of God, that Kraus was not the victim after narrowing, or not the killer, after narrowing it down to 2 potential people. However, we also secretly got the information via word of God that the other person of the 2 people is also not the killer. Now, the trial seems to be proceeding like the second person is the killer regardless, because we just got that info. But I'm expecting some kind of disruption to come out that'll show that we're reaching a stalemate instead of a victory that's incorrect in nature, as no one was able to figure out how it could be someone other than those 2 people as the murderers of, 5-6 people? Yeah. You don't see any red text? Well, it only comes up occasionally. Right now, no humans exist on this island except for those in this parlor. And by that, I assume it's just a character speaking. Let's have a look and see what's going on. With one exception, it's been shown that none of them have committed murder. The culprit is among these people.
Oi, oi.
Whoa. In that case, it's conclusive, isn't it?
魔女が犯人で魔法で殺人を犯したわけでない限り
Unless the culprit's a witch who committed murder with magic, that is.
あんたな
It
の
was you? It was you!
あんたがジョージを主人を殺したの
You killed George? Killed my husband?
どうしてよ
What?
どうして
What? Someone is reasonably upset that their husband... Actually, George is not her husband, for anyone who doesn't know. George is actually her son, so it is, you killed George and my husband. Why? You killed George, you killed my husband. Why? Why?
私は殺していま
She
せん
didn't kill anyone. She claims she was framed, and we even saw from a first-person perspective that she was framed. But remember, every single scene can lie to us. From the visuals to the actions people take. All of it can be lies. Or at least that's the argument we're proposing and have proposed several times, as otherwise the argument is fairly pointless. As the primary argument of this story is magic real? Well, guess what? We've seen fucking wizards flying around, so unless that scene's complete bullshit, yeah.
私は何も
You didn't kill anyone? Maybe not. In a panic and with a voice that was far from calm, in a manner that was, to put it coldly, unsightly, Aunt Natsuhi denied the suspicion placed upon her. However, there was no longer any way around it. She stood up, brushed back her long hair, pointed at Aunt Natsuhi, and said it one more time.
あなたが犯人です。
You're the
後
culprit.
ろ宮夏日さん。
Shiromiya Natsuhi-san. Red-faced and tear-streaked, Ava walked up to Natsuhi and grabbed her by the collar. Then wordlessly, she slapped Natsuhi's cheek. Natsuhi, who had never been slapped in her life, was shocked by the taste of iron, which was the feeling for the first time. She was feeling for the first time. People who are in on a lie or won't refute a lie see magic. Yeah. It turned into a scuffle between Ava and Natsuhi. Battler immediately tried to stop them, but Ava planted a sharp knee into Battler's gut and he doubled over.
返してよジョージと夫を返してよ
This is some curious music for something that's supposed to be so dramatic. It's like very lighthearted for that. Give them back. Give back George and my husband. That's not gonna happen.
どうして殺したのよ
Why'd you kill him? And at this point, it was pretty obvious to tell that Erica would be wrong in whatever she predicted, as it seems like Erica's a detective, but not a detective that's actually correct at any point. With her first... She made her first mistake in her first case and screwed it up, so I was expecting this second one to also somehow be wrong. People who aren't in on a lie don't see magic because people who are in on a lie or won't refute a lie are contributing to the magic, yeah. Magic is basically 10 people collaborating to make an elaborate lie. It's melancholic, we know the result's wrong, but there's nothing anyone can do, except for Battler, who can just vomit red text now. Or anyone who can vomit red text. Why'd you kill him? Sobbing, Ava kicked Natsuhi, who had fallen to the ground, over and over. Battler tried once more to cut in and stop them, but he was brushed aside. As Battler was told during the trial via red text that she was innocent, but nobody's actually acting on that information yet, so it's kind of just like waiting for things to happen. After that, no one tried to stop them. Repeating her son and husband's name over and over, Ava kicked Natsuhi and kicked her. And then she started grabbing whatever her eyes fell upon and throwing it. Natsuhi was hit with a steaming teacup, a can of black tea whose tea leaves fell out all over her. She was kicked, her hair pulled and dragged up. Her cheek slapped so many times it started swelling. No one tried to stop it. It wasn't because they were worried about Ava kicking them too, it's because they thought it was an appropriate act of retribution for a person who lost their son and husband. A proper retribution, a proper truth. Everyone in the parlor accepted Natsuhi was the culprit. They accepted the truth Erika claimed. So it became a proper truth, and Natsuhi was designated the proper culprit. She'd already lost her husband and daughter who might have protected her. Even Kinzo, who should have given her a final bit of strength, had already vanished like a bubble in the ocean of illusions. No longer would anyone protect her. No longer would anyone believe her. So she's now the true culprit. Ava's shoulders heaved with her heavy breathing. I would care about this being a lie more, but I don't know what Battler is actually pursuing here. So if he cares, he cares. If he doesn't care. Battler isn't necessarily pursuing the truth at any point, since he actively fights against the truth in multiple locations, so... If he's consistently fighting against things he knows to be true, then, like, it doesn't really matter if this is true or not. Ava's shoulders heaved with her heavy breathing, because, like, the protagonist isn't pursuing truth, so... I can pursue my own truth out of mild interest, but I don't care for the story purposes. Or anger still isn't debated. Until the protagonist cares, I won't care, because he doesn't seem to have a reason. Erika patted her shoulder and made Ava take a step back. Of course, it wasn't to protect Natsuhi from violence, it was to further humiliate her now that she'd been branded the culprit.
Natsuhi-san.
Natsuhi-san. I've solved 2 of the 3 riddles.
Whodunit.
The whodunit. The howdunit.
そして最後の謎。ホワイダニットは犯人が自ら告白しなくて
The
はな
final
らない
riddle,
と
the
決まってい
why
ます
done it, must always be confessed by the culprit
ど
herself.
うかミステリーのルールに従い告白を
Please, follow the rules of the mystery genre and
これ
confess.
が三流ミステリーなら
Why done it refers to the motive.
そろそろ夏日さんが高笑いを
If this
始
was
め
a
て
third-rate
悲しい
mystery.
過去話を始めるタイミングなのですが
You would let out a high-pitched laugh now, confess to the crime, and tell the story of your sad past.
まさかそれまで私がしなく
Don't
てはなり
tell
ませ
me
ん
you
か
intend to make me explain that part as well. Oh, it might happen.
私は犯人じゃあ
I'm
り
not
ま
the
せん
culprit.
誰か信じて
Someone believe me. I refuse to explain what I was doing or why I'm not the murderer. But I'm not the culprit.
私は何者かに夫を人質に取られ脅迫されて罠にはめられただけなんです
I had my husband taken hostage, was threatened, and fell into a trap. Natsuhi, with her hair a mess and her face red and tear-streaked, protested to everyone, but no one met her gaze because it had already been resolved. She's the culprit. I mean, you were called to the witness stand, asked many questions, and answered the way you did. If you're gonna answer that way, go for it. Because Lambda Delta acknowledged the culprit of the tale was Natsuhi and had woven it that way, none of the pieces would pay any heed to Natsuhi's, to the culprit's words.
夏日は犯人ではない
She's not the culprit.
我こそは黄金の魔女ベ
You're
ー
the
スそ
Golden
な
Witch
ただが
Beatrice.
夜の闇に怯えた年頃よりはるかに前から君臨する
I thought you were
六軒島の
dead
夜の
because you'd been
支配者
disproven. Natsuhi isn't the culprit. I'm the Golden Witch Beatrice, the one who commands Rockenjima's night, and who reigned since long before the time you were scared of the dark.
なぜわらわの罪とせぬかなぜ夏日を疑うの
Why
か
not call it my sin? Why suspect Natsuhi? Because if we suspected Beatrice, we'd have to suspect every crime of being committed by a wizard.
わらわを認めよ
Acknowledge me.
すべてはわらわの犯行ぞ
I committed all
人
crimes.
間が犯人ということなど断じてあ
there's no way the human's the culprit. Why is this scene here? There's got to be some use to this scene. Actually, I would say there has to be utility to this scene, to the overarching story, but I actually don't know if that's the case. The illusion of the witch had already been crushed, and Beato's voice didn't reach anyone. If the illusion of the witch is crushed, aren't we leaving this realm and done with this? Done with this whole game? Problem is, there's nothing Natsu can say, because Erika's entire argument's based solely on everyone else having an alibi. Defending herself does nothing. No, it's based on, there's utility after all. Natsu isn't the culprit. Yeah, but we already know that definitively. So we're just waiting for what happens. We're waiting for a follow-up scene to happen, and this is weird because they're basically all NPCs that don't have any control over or agency over themselves. And so this is just like Lambda Delta pushing around someone who's like sort of the culprit, but it doesn't make too much sense to have like an intermission from the... Instead of Battler speaking up with his red text, him just like sitting there on it doesn't really make too much sense. Because he's already been given the truth that he's not the culprit, but they just didn't use it. Kind of like, alright, whatever, do your thing, dude. Anyway, typically people use arguments like this phone call and shit to provide a defense as to what they were doing or why they were in some room. But Nazi hasn't done any of that either. The verdict had already been made. Everything was decided. Nazi lied to everyone, so everyone only has the information Nazi was willing to provide with, so I don't feel too bad. Even if it's a process by elimination culprit. I mean, you could investigate the possibility she's not the culprit if there was any reason to suspect she isn't the culprit. Like, say if she said, oh, I was only in that room because I was told to be there by some mysterious voice on the phone, I didn't actually kill anyone. Like, yes, sure, I might be up by process of elimination, but here, I was told to do this by someone on the phone. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Then you can say, like, oh, there's a possibility you were forced to go here, and it's like, oh yes, I was told Kraus was a hostage, and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, well, maybe we can look into this and see if maybe you're not as guilty as you look, or maybe we overlooked something, but she's chosen not to say anything, so it's like entirely her fault. She just said she was threatened, but she didn't say so during the trial. Again, it was just said these are all NPCs acting according to rules of genre convention, so they're incapable of listening to her now because she refused to say she was threatened while on the stand at trial. So it's like, okay, am I supposed to feel bad for her? She made her decision to like not provide any information or objection to her own guilt. And then they're just like, what, showing me like a sad scene that's supposed to be melancholic about a character who like decided their own pointless fate. If she said it, she wouldn't be able to prove it because she didn't have evidence. I mean, it would make someone at least consider the possibility even if they don't have evidence. A lack of evidence doesn't mean something's not true, but if you don't have anything to pursue that lacks evidence, there's no way you're gonna arrive at something, right? It's like if you were trying to prove that like rainbow-colored unicorns existed, you have to have the premise that rainbow-colored unicorns exist in the first place before you would investigate the possibility, unless you had some evidence, right? You'll only ever acquire that evidence either by chance or because you have the thought that exists for some things, right? For some things you don't just happen to have evidence for. Like, I don't happen to know, like, I don't happen to have, like, I don't happen to know if, like, some game is coming out, but I don't know if, like, how would I explain? Oh, whatever. It's not super important. She's only saying it now because she has nothing left? Yeah. Especially if they know Kraus is dead? Yep, she's only saying it now, and I don't feel bad for her because she made her own decisions. Kraus wasn't returned to her while she was on trial, so... Just what it is. Nox's Knights is permitted for observers to let their own conclusions and explanations be heard? Yup.
聞こえてないわよ。
No one can
あ
hear
ん
you.
たは幻。ただ
You're
の
a
幻
phantom.
想。
A mere illusion.
お帰りなさい。ただの肖像画に。
No one can hear you. You're a phantom, a mere illusion. Go back to being a simple
金
portrait.
像の幻想を親族が共有することによって生まれた儚い幻の魔女。
You're a phantom of a witch born when Kinzo shared his illusion with his
それ
relatives.
がこの世界の選んだ真実なのよ。
It's the truth chosen by this world.
さあ、大ラムダデルタ教。
Great Lady Lambda
こ
Delta.
の魔女を語るおこがましき愚かな幻想を今こそ葬り去りたまえ。
Now's the time for you to bury the ridiculous and foolish illusion this witch claims is the truth.
さようなら、ベ
Goodbye,
ートリーチェ。
Beatrice.
あなたを魔女にしたのは私のお友達になれるか、
I made you a witch expecting you to either become my
私
friend
の退屈を紛らわしてくれるか、
or
その
distract
ど
me
ち
from
ら
my
かを期
boredom.
待したものよ。そしてあなたは期待に応えて
You've
くれ
answered
た
to
わ。
my expectations.
後者のね。
The second one, that is.
わらわは
I
魔女であるわ。
am a witch,
ラムダデルタ教に認められずとも。
even if Lambda Delta doesn't acknowledge it. So, like, why do we have this scene in a completely different room if we're gonna swap back to the trial room? Seems kind of
魔
pointless.
女であるわ。
I'm a witch.
私が後見人にならなかったらそれを信じることもできなかったくせに。
Oh, sure, but you wouldn't even be capable of believing that if I hadn't become your guardian in the first place.
さあ、あなたはこれでゲームオーバーよ。
Yep, it's game over for you.
あなたを葬る方法はあなたのゲーム版のルールに従ってあげる。
You'll be buried in accordance with the rules of your game
あ
board.
なたのゲームでは敗者はどうなるんだっけ。
It happens to the losers in your game again.
すでにベアトが過去のゲームで一度はっきりとそれを見せてくれてる
Has
わ。
already clearly shown that in a previous
生
game.
きた肉の塊にしてヤギの晩餐会に放り込んで食い散らかされるのよ。
You get made into a mound of living flesh before being tossed into the goat's dinner party and getting chewed to bits.
ふさわしい最後だわ。
Now there's a fitting
Beatrice.
end for you, Beatrice.
高慢ちきなあんたの断末魔が聞きたくてはるばるこんなところまでやってきたのだから。
And I did come here, all the way here just to hear the death cries of one as haughty as you. Goats are looking hungry. One by one, a massive number of goat attendants slipped out from the shadows of the pillars and began filling the cathedral. They paid no attention to Natsuki, who was seated in the center, but the crowd completely enveloped her. From Beato's point of view up on the balcony, it looked like a huge boiling pot of goats. Goat party, yeah,
そうであるな。
that's right.
もとよりそういう契約であっ
The
た。
contract's been like this since the beginning.
へえ、そうよ。あなたが私を楽しませることができなくなったら
Contract said whenever you stopped entertaining
そ
me,
の身をもって私の退屈を慰めるのが私たちの契
you would
嗯
約。
relieve me of my boredom with your life.
さあ、その女から魔女の座を奪いヤギの釜へ放り込みなさい。
Oh, strip the title of witch from this woman and throw her into the pot of goats. Suddenly there were goats standing right behind Beato. They lifted her up roughly.
良い悲鳴を聞かせてね。
Let me hear some nice
あ
screams.
んたはこの日のために寝かせてきたワインよ。
They're the wine I've been fermenting all this time.
ならばそれを聞かせぬのがわらわの最後の一子であるわ。
Well, then perhaps refusing your request will be my final strike back at you.
やった言わせた。
I made her say it. I made her say it.
それを捨て台詞にしてくれる子が聞かせてくれる悲鳴が最上級なのよ。
Best screams. They always come from a girl who just said some tired line like that.
もちろん
Oh,
ベアトリーチェ
oh, Beatrice. The goats carrying Beato no longer viewed her as their master, holding her above the pod of clambering goats which were snorting heavily in anticipation. Wait, an actual pot? What? They threw Beato's slender body into the air, and all at once the squirming goats faced the heavens and raised their arms. It was almost as though they'd be able to forget their pain for a short while by devouring her flesh. As she flew through the air, she tried to smile boldly, but it was so stiff, it seemed even more pathetic, much to Berncastel's amusement. When Beato fell into the pot, the goats caught her, and they didn't do it gently. The arms of countless goats pulled at her flesh to keep it for themselves. They tried to tear her to bits. It didn't have to be flesh, hair, fingernails, shoes, bits of her dress. They all worked fine. The mouths of the goats were the gateway into hell. However, Beato was too big to enter into that gateway, so they had to chew and tear her into bits small enough to fit into it. Beato let out a bold laugh. She laughed from the inside of the pot of goats. However, her expression was different from the one she'd wanted. It was an expression not of a witch, but of a single human yelling in her death throes. Then the sea of goats parted. Delanor leapt forward, slicing all the goats in her path with a single flash of her long sword. It was a clean slice like cutting through butter. The goats were surprised by Delanor's sudden appearance and stepped back. In the center, Beatrice cowered in tatters, sobbing. What's this supposed to be? Delanor, Inquisitor of Heresy. My apologies, but I have something to say. There is someone who has an objection to this ruling. His name is Ushiromiya Battler. There we go. I have no problems with all these scenes in the court. It's the scene in like the pseudo game world that was like kind of pointless. All the goats stared at Battler. What is unsatisfactory about the court's ruling? Do you possess any new evidence or truth sufficient to request a retrial? I get it. Delanor is offering me a helping hand. If she hadn't jumped in here, it'd be all over. And now I fully understand how I'm supposed to fight, because I understand how I'm unable to fight right now. After all, I can't win by countering Erica's truth. If I want to deny her truth, I need to present a different one. And I still don't have a clue what that truth is. Though a retrial. There's nothing not healed with time. There is no truth. It cannot be reached if you spend enough time searching. However, all trials have a limited time in which the truth must be decided. I see. And therefore a truth cannot be reached within that limited time, cannot become truth. I know that. By now everyone's certain Aunt Natsuhi is the culprit. It might be too late now, even for the real truth. Aunt Ava's violence will go unstopped. No one's even thinking about protecting Aunt Natsuhi. It's no longer a situation where we can say, oh, the truth will eventually be found. In this world, the time remaining to expose the truth is very short. It's already midnight at the game's end. The police won't come, the truth won't be revealed. Only the truth decided upon here and now will remain. I slowly stood up, walked in front of Beato, and faced Delanor. Why Delanor? I have no plan, but I don't know the truth. However, if I don't jump in now, I won't get another chance to fight. The red used by Erica's group is mercilessly strict. I doubt I can put together a truth where Aunt Natsuhi isn't the culprit without violating that red. Oh, why the uncertain face? Pathetic. She looks fine to me, just disappointed. Just sad. I'll be the one to kill you. I'll keep that promise. And yet, the man who lacks the conviction to actually attempt to kill her. Alright. And yet, right now, I don't have any plan at all. That's fine. That's fine. In this world, there is no truth. The truth is made later and overwrites what comes before it. Real truth doesn't exist anywhere.
ドラノール、素敵なシナリオ
Now
だ。
this is a splendid scenario, Delanor.
やはりお姫様の処刑にはナイトが現れないと面白くない。
It just wouldn't be interesting unless a knight appeared before the princess's execution.
そしてその眼前で弾頭を見せてやるのに勝るものな
And of
し。
course, there's nothing better than watching heads roll before your very
古
eyes.
き駒と用済みのプレイヤーたちをまとめて葬り去りなさい。
Erase the old piece and the unneeded player all in one go. Okay, I feel like I should ask this question now because I haven't done so yet. When I look at Berncastell's face here, it looks like she has two fangs coming from the top of her mouth. Is she actually like a vampire or someone with exceptionally long canines? Or is that just bad art? Because my impression is that she's a witch. She actually is vampiric. She does have like vampiric fangs. I just wanted to point that out. It's been like, we've seen this like 10-20 times and I like the face, but every time I see it, that's what I think. I'm like, she's got two fangs. She's got two white fangs. Less than Satoko. Yeah, but she does see, we do see it every time she smiles. And Satoko is ostensibly like a regular person. She also has a tail. Yeah, she does also have a tail, that's true. Not visible here though. As you wish. Glory be to the great Lady Berncastel. For anyone who doesn't remember the tail, I think it's visible here, right? It's available in the list of mystic characters. Yeah. You can see the tail. You can see she has her tail, it has a blue bow on it. Lambda Delta does not have a tail. Berncastel does not visibly have a tail. Or just Erica. As you wish, glory be to the great Lady Berncastel. I am the head inquisitor of heresy, Delanor A. Nox. Step forward, Ushiromiya Battler. Got nothing else. Got nothing more to lose. Do you want to see me struggle? I'll show you. Yeah, Delanor visibly has canines, but I mean, that could just be the way they're drawing teeth. You'll notice Battler has them as well here. Like, having canines isn't unusual, right? That's just how they draw teeth. It's the fact that they're only visible. As typically it's like basically impossible to smile with only your canines being visible. Because your front teeth will also be visible at the same time. A slight exaggeration here is kind of fine. Especially because it's anime and exaggerated faces are what anime does best. So like, serious faces. And them having visible canines is fine, because that's what people look like. But the issue was for Berncastel is that she was regularly making faces where you could only see her canines, which doesn't make sense. Want to see struggle? I'll show you struggle. So what's he gonna do? Go to the toilet and reveal that he's constipated? A real struggle? The only reason Erica's theory is strong is because of those seals. She was given red so quickly just because Lambda Delta easily bought the alibis created by the seals. But seals aren't red truth. Sticking paper in a door crack is far from perfect. There's no way something like that can prove anything with certainty. Ah, graphic design, that's cool. Figured you'd just chill here. Alright. Why not? Something to listen to while you're working on something that doesn't require a ton of focus. Begin battling. Ready to let the goats turn you into a pile of meat along with your beloved Beatrice?
Ah, そのひき肉にはあんたの大切な妹のひき肉も混ぜてあげるわ。
I'll mix in the leftovers from your precious sister into the pile.
素敵な合いびき肉になるでしょうよ。
Wouldn't that make for a wonderful blend of meat? Brother and sister. Brother, sister, and lover. I
皮
see.
に包んで蒸して小籠包にしてやっぱり醤油でしょ
Then we could wrap it up in a dumpling, steam it, and maybe add some soy sauce? That would be a huge dumpling. How much meat do you get from a person? That's insane. That would be less a dumpling and more of just a giant blob of meat with like a tiny bit of crust? No. Wrapper? A bread? I don't know, a wheat-based wrapper. I see.
フライパンで焼いて卵を乗せてケチャップが最強
Oh, that's cool. Always nice to have a use for things you got a long time ago. I think I finally had a use for... I bought some tables a long ass time ago. I bought like a DisplayPort cables and an HDMI cable and a really long Ethernet cable, and I finally got a use for the ultra long Ethernet cable. Like 9 months ago. It was so satisfying. I had that cable for like 3 years before I had a use for it. So nice. It was like, I got it because I knew it was a really good I got it because it was free. I mean, it was surplus. It was like surplus for the place I was working at, and they're like, yeah, we got like these like, I don't know, they're like 50 feet, 100-foot Ethernet cables, and they're already cut and set, like, they have the attachments, we just don't want them anymore. We're gonna throw them out. I'm like, yeah, I'll take one. That'll come in handy at some point. Sure enough, it did. It's like, you know, having an Ethernet cable, reasonable. Having one that reaches across the house, not likely you have too many of those. But you know it's gonna come in handy at some point. I love when that happens. The best way would be to fry them in a pan with some eggs and ketchup. Eggs, ketchup, and fried in a pan. All right. They want to make a omelet, an Ushiromiya omelet. An extract of which? You salty about Battler? Can't we doubt the reliability of these seals of Erica's? Something like wedging paper in a door can't create a perfect alibi? It might be that someone noticed by chance and happened to put it back in the same place. The blade of my blue truth should have slashed diagonally through Delanore's chest, but her expression didn't budge in the slightest. There wasn't a single wound on her chest.
何が飛び出すかと思ったらバカバカしい
I was wondering what you'd throw out there, but this is ridiculous.
私からご説明しましょう
Allow me to explain.
私が扉を封印していたのは
This is what I sealed the doors with.
バトラさんはこれ紙だと思ってたんです
Did you
か
think this was paper, Battler-san? Erica once again held up a thing that looked like brown paper.
これガムテープです
It's packing tape.
それも非常に粘着力のある
Its adhesive power is extremely
そ
strong.
れにハサミを入れ切れやすくしてあります
I used scissors to make it easier to tear.
それにさらに切れ目扉と枠部の3箇所に
Furthermore, I wrote my signature, which cannot be reproduced, in 3
模写
places.
不可能な私のサインにて割り印がしてあります
Across the tear point, across the edge between the door and the tape, and across the edge between the tape and the
よ
door
っ
frame.
て痕跡を残さずに剥がすことも貼り直すことも一切で
Therefore,
きないわけです
It's impossible to tear it off without leaving a mark, and it's impossible to reattach tape.
抜刀申請石剣
Permission to unsheath the red key.
承認
Granted.
以上により封印の完全性は保証されました
Due to the above, the seals are guaranteed to be perfect. Wait, didn't I already came up with the solution for this, so I'm not going to worry too much
ミ
about
ス
this.
エリカの封印は何者にも破れずごまかすことはできないのです
Ah, Miss Erica's seals were not broken by anyone, and deception is impossible. I'll acknowledge
封印は認めよう
Erica's seals. Yep, Erica's seals are
だ
acknowledged.
がエヴァおばさんがした源氏さんの部屋の封印は違うはずだ
However, Aunt Ava's seal on Genji-san's room should be different. Good lord, Battler. I thought you've played this game 4 times. You played this game 4 times and you're still like this?
エヴァの封印もミスエリカの封印と同一のものです。
Ava's seal was of the same type as Miss Erica's. That was explicitly told us. Erica told Ava how to make these. Or Ava told Erica how to make these. Right?
この封印方法はミスエリカとエヴァが晩餐後に共同で考案したものだからです。
That's because this method of sealing was one that Miss Erica and Ava conceived of together after dinner. Oh, it's together they came up with it. Okay. You're working on something for print at a really high pixel count in Photoshop and your PC hates it? Yeah, that sucks. When you get really big things that are like tens of thousands of pixels, yeah, that sucks. They're like really big stuff that takes up like your entire cache to hold in memory. Yeah, that's how it goes. That sucks, dude. I'm glad I don't have to work in ultra high resolutions like that. Erica said something about a scientific investigation and fished through the chemicals in grandfather's room, right? There might have been a solvent in there. If you use it, you might be able to tear off the packing tape without leaving fingernail marks.
金慶、謹んで申し上げる。
Please allow me to speak.
すべての封印はいかなる方法でも痕跡を残さずに剥がすこ
It
と
is
は不可
impossible
能
to
だ。
tear off any of the seals by any method without leaving marks.
金慶、謹んで申し上げる。
Wait, you're running less than 32 gigabytes of RAM? Or do you mean VRAM, like from your video card? Because I'd say you really should be using 32 gigs for your RAM at this point. Especially if you're playing games on it. 32 is pretty good. 32 is pretty important for that.
すべての封印には不審な一切の痕
You
跡
have
は
16 now?
なきにけり。
Yeah, go for 32. Even if you have to go to 4 channels, 32, that'd be good. I don't know what you're running right now. If you're running like a desktop. 8 times 4 is still better than 8 times 2. Obviously 16 times 2 would probably be better, but sometimes you don't want to replace all your memory. There were no suspicious marks on any seals. Thanks, Cornelia. Right, her name is Cornelia. Couldn't remember that.
以上により封印に何らかの工作が行われたことがないことが証明されます。
It's been proven that nothing was done to any of the seals.
復唱要求。
Repeat.
ええ、喜んで。エリカとエヴァのすべての封印に
All of Erica and Ava's
は剥が
seals.
すなどの封印の機能を損なわせる一切の工作はなかった。
All of them were not tampered in any way that hindered their ability to act as seals, such as being scraped off. Damn it. Think of an alternative. Come on, dude. Damn you, using packing tape that leaves marks all over the place. And it's efficient. Delanor isn't my only enemy. There's also her subordinates Gertrude and Cornelia. Sooner, I see. Sooner than you wanted to. That's not too bad. RAM's not that expensive, at least. It's better than having to, like, replace your video card, right? Or, like, the motherboard and processor. Because motherboard processor would probably also mean you have to replace the RAM as well. There's also her subordinates Gertrude and Cornelia, and Erica and her master Berncastel. You say this, but it's not like they're all independent minds. Even Lambda Delta, the one who hijacked Beato's game. Everyone in this cathedral is your enemy. I mean, only because you made them your enemy. Berncastel would be willing to work with you towards... Berncastel would, in theory, be willing to work with you towards an absolute truth if you are actually trying to progress towards it instead of just fighting her all the time. But that's Battler. That fierce rush of red immediately repelled my feeble truth. It's obvious why I don't have an alternate truth. Even at this final stage, I have... nothing.
封印の議論だけで終わりですか？
Were the seals all you had to discuss?
全力で来る約束です。
You promised to give it everything you've got. If only I knew a truth that could prove Aunt Natsuhi's innocence. If only I could make a theory that weaves its way through Erica's red. I don't know anything. Well, it would help if you knew that, like, Kinso was dead or
勝ち目はあるのか。
something. If only we hadn't shot that down, even though we knew it was true for the sake of being a petty dipshit. Any chance of winning?
家に忘れてき
I
た。
left it home.
取りに戻っていいか。
Mind if I go back and get it?
わらわはすでに負けた身
Already lost.
覚悟はできている
I'm prepared for my fate.
お前を殺すのが俺
I
の
promised
約
I'd
束だ。
kill you. See, if we hadn't made intentionally made Erica our enemy for basically no reason, we might have been able to work with her to the real solution. By working with her instead of just being petty and yelling at her. But I guess that wasn't us under our control the whole time. Oh well.
だ
I
から
promised I'd kill you. I won't let anyone else do it.
俺以外の奴がお前を殺すことを俺は約束を絶対に破らない。
I'll definitely keep that promise. How about you? So if this is Meta Battler, surely he's come up with a theory because he hasn't been involved in anything. He's just been watching stuff, right? Surely he would be like us and sitting here come up with theories so that he can make some progress.
嘘だな
Why?
そなたの約束な
I'll never trust your promises again.
何？俺がお前に何の約束をして
When did I make?
何の嘘をついた？
When did I ever make a promise to you? What was the lie?
そなたの言葉でわらわは地獄を受け入れられるというもの
After hearing you say that, hell may not be so bad.
殺せわらわたちをベルンカステルラムダデルタ
Kill us, burn Castell and Lambda Delta, get it over with. This guy's a dick. He even forgets his promises. Betho let out a shrill cry, overcome with laughter. It was a broken laugh, and tears streamed down her cheeks. Yeah, he's not very good at it. I'm surprised he's actually been involved in this. I'm just sitting here in an armchair, talking. Like, shit, man. Surely Battler's taking notes and being super serial about this shit. I'm like super relaxed about it, and even I came up with a theory. You know, the classic Rosa murders a whole bunch of people. Genji kills himself, and then I don't need to answer the second trial because we haven't even gotten there. Like, murders and then a suicide would work, but alas, even a simpler thing like that escapes Battler's notice. Battler's words would no longer reach her ears. It was a broken laugh, and tears streamed down her cheeks. She kept on laughing insanely, like a broken record.
それで終わりですか？
Is it over?
情けない。
Pitiful.
やはり失望です。後ろ
Truly
ビアバトラ
disappointed. Ushiromiya Battler.
殺してくれドラノールわらわをバッサリとその赤きたちで真っ二つに
Kill me, Delano. Slice me in half with that red longsword of yours. Is Battler gonna say anything?
ゲストハウスに帰れ。ラウンジを通過せずに至る方法 X を勝て。
Isn't he just throwing out things they already disproved instead of trying to come up with a new solution? Let's assume there exists some method that can lead someone to the second floor of the guest house without passing through the lounge. Really, Battler? Are we doing another one of these?
Erika!
Okay.
窓やらを封じたと主張しているが、侵入可能な全てを封印できたことは証明できていない。
Erica claims all the windows and such were sealed, but she can't prove she sealed all possible means of
エ
entry.
リカに発見できなかった侵入口 X を
That's
封
why
印
she
で
went
きな
around the
かった可
outside,
能
you
性があ
dumbass.
る。
There's a possibility Erica was unable to seal an entrance because she couldn't find it. That's why she went around the outside.
ノックス第3条
Nox is third. Nox is third. They found every entrance. There can be no hidden rooms.
秘密の通路の存在を禁ず
Yep. Nox is third. Forbidden for hidden passages to
ミ
exist.
ス・エリカは探偵として全ての侵入口を封印しています
Battler's flailing is what many people would do when confronted with this. And if you aren't flailing around and come up with a solution fast enough, Battler's ranting seems dumb. I guess so. I felt a little bit more sympathetic to his like confused ranting when we were getting some really, really convoluted ones. But I feel like the stuff in this chapter is kind of tame to follow. Like, the ones where they were, like, ones where you have to come up with something crazy, like someone's name not being their own name, like Chapter 4, is really hard. But, like, this one's not too bad. But it just involves you thinking of someone killing themselves or someone getting in a fight and killing someone. Like, no one's even investigated the possibility of Rosa triggering a fight and killing anyone. Or Genji committing suicide. Like, those options haven't even been brought up. Like, the most straightforward question for basically every dead person is like, did they kill themselves? Were they murdered? Did they die of natural causes? Right? Like, sometimes the answer is obvious. Someone died in a hospital room. You know, someone died in a hospital room after someone tried to revive them when they had, like, a heart attack or some shit, right? And it's like, well, the doctor tried all they could, you know. Did the doctor fuck up, making it, like, incidental murder? No. Okay, well, pretty straightforward. You know, they died. Or, like, you know, someone died of a heart attack before the ambulance got to them. They died. It's over. You know, pretty straightforward. As long as they didn't kill... You look into whether they killed themselves or whether there was a natural cause and you move on. Like, you always investigate, like, the 3 basic possibilities of every death. Which is, like, you know, homicide, suicide, natural causes. They probably want to display all of Nox's rules? Maybe. They have referenced Nox's third before, though, so this isn't a new rule. Nox's third, it is forbidden for hidden passages to exist. As a detective, Miss Erica sealed all entrances. This was brought up in, I believe, the 2nd arc, and it's been consistent in the 3rd arc as well, possibly the 4th one. Miss Erica sealed all entrances. All the entrances the detective found, which are all of them. Passages the detective cannot find are hidden passages. Therefore, there are no entrances Miss Erica can't find.
ラウンジのエリカの見張りが完璧でなかった可能性の提示。
I present the possibility that Erica's lookout in the lounge wasn't perfect.
エリカは2時間を過ごす間、片時も目をそらすことなく監視し続けたのか。
See, what he's currently doing. This scene is to show off all the game's rules and how they counter certain types of theories. Fair enough. This is the answers arc, so in theory they need to show off all the rules to demonstrate how they can be answered so people can come with solutions. I guess that works. I don't really have too much of a problem with that if they want to show off. It feels a little bit late because they've introduced them, but it could be a nice summary. If we consider that this is a separate game and purchase as part of the collection, instead of being a collection of 8, it's a collection of 4 twice over. That doesn't end at the 4th one. You could say this is a refresher course for people who maybe bought the first one and then bought the second group later. I think that's palatable. Alright, so Battler is currently... Basically, what Battler's doing right now doesn't make too much sense to me, because I think he's contesting the red, and he's not contesting the red on the fact that the red is impossible, or the fact that the red is inconsistent. He's contesting things that were acknowledged in red because he doesn't want them to be true. And it's like, you can argue the red is inconsistent or it creates an impossible scenario, but I don't think you can argue that you don't like this specific red statement, therefore it's wrong. Like, you know, they say she sealed all the entrances and he's like, it's possible they didn't, and they're like, fuck off, that's what we already said in red, that this is absolute. Nox's rules were introduced in this episode. But they've referred to them in previous episodes as the rules of mysteries or Nox's rules, or like them. Like, Delanor was introduced here, but the rules themselves, several of them were already present. Especially the hidden rooms and passages rule. That one was already argued, and that was how we came up with red text, which is specifically to refute the ability of Battler to say there were hidden rooms. So, like, we've basically been playing since the game started with no hidden rooms or passages. This is effectively a summary, if they're covering all of those. Anyway, so during the 2 hours Erica spent, did she really observe everything without looking away for a second?
わずかの隙をつきラウンジを少なくともエリカの目にだけ触れずに通過することは可能かもしれない。
The argument Battler's presenting here is possible in real life, but it's not passable in this game, I don't think. At least that would make sense to me. It might be possible for someone to have passed through the lounge during a small gap without at least Erica seeing them. Allow me to speak. Erica is perfectly vigilant even when she's drunk. Yeah, I'm sure. Allow me to speak. Erica's lookout in the lounge was perfect. This is like a game. This is less a real life logic and like game logic, where like the lookout is perfect even if they're getting wasted with Gota and carrying on a conversation with Nanjo. Even though in real life you would be distracted and someone might be able to sneak by you. There were no gaps or carelessness of times when she looked away even for a second. In fact, I would argue that it is very likely there would be gaps in every person's view, since I think there's been research on people watching radar for like naval vessels, as there's some issues with radar. There's some issues with radar attracting like projectiles and stuff, and some things might show up as some things like if your radar is aiming low enough, you might be able to see waves, and so there might be false positives. So typically there's a guy on radar, and usually they can't actually, even if their job is literally to do nothing and watch the radar, and they know that there's a study actively going on about this, people will struggle to like maintain their focus for more than an hour on the radar station. I think it's like an hour. Like they can't do a whole shift. It's not possible. It's not possible to actually like pay attention to the radar the whole time, because people like need stimulus. I forgot. I was reading a couple studies on that. It's like a known issue with stuff like that. However, detective authority, which is this game logic, you can pay attention to something forever. Yeah, Erica absolutely can. In real life, it would be impossible for you to do that even if you were doing nothing else. But in this case, you can. Like, in this case, this is fine. This is the game logic. They're like, we don't want this to happen. We don't want this argument, and you should probably follow it. Just like with Erica listening intently. Now, that one seems more likely, as you'd probably notice something out of the ordinary if you were just leaning there and closing your eyes and listening. But for visual stuff, watching a door while you're carrying on a conversation would be very difficult. Detective authority is just cheating. Shit's so ass. It is what it is. I mean, it's there to establish some rules so that we can actually make assumptions. And like the red text, it's there so we can achieve objective truths. So it's saying, like, this might have been perfect. Like, we could also argue that one of her 20 seals was done improperly and it wasn't, like, taped all the way up. But that would be, like, kind of nonsense, right? Like, yes, there might have been exactly one seal that wasn't done properly because she's done 19 of them or whatever. It's like, yeah, maybe, but that seems unlikely. It's like, I think it wouldn't make sense from the game logic to do that. Your ultimate theory for the game at this point uses evidence from episode 1. It's about to be denied. You were destroyed after loading. Rikishi apparently hates you in particular. Oh, really? Okay, that'll be interesting. Allow me to speak. Therefore, during their entire meeting in the lounge, only Rosa went up to the second floor. Yep, there were no gaps. Her lookout was perfect. There's no gaps for even a second. Alright, only Rosa went to the second floor. Was that really Rosa herself? Oh my god. The things he's contesting are silly. Very silly. Come on, Battler. I think we've already had this clarified multiple times in red that people wouldn't mistake other people while they're alive, but we've thrown off disguises a few times, but it's fine. I don't think it's been said that nobody in any scenario would do this. I think the red text for disguises was like they wouldn't have mistaken Kinzo for anyone else, not that nobody could disguise anyone as someone else. Which is fair because I think someone has to disguise themselves as Beatrice at some point. Or at least pretend to be Beatrice. So, okay. There's a possibility someone disguised themselves as Aunt Rosa. I think this is far-fetched and unlikely. But okay, Battler.
もしくは彼女が実は大きな旅行カバンなどを持っていてその中に誰かが隠れていた可能性もあ
Maybe
る
she was holding a large suitcase with someone hiding inside it. An interesting prospect, having someone inside of a suitcase that does the killing. I don't think that one's likely either, but you know what? I think sneaking someone in who's in a bag or something is sort of an interesting idea. It might work. It might work. I don't know how they got out though. She does have a photographic memory, so this would also be known to her.
第10条手がかりなき他の登場人物への変装を禁ず
Nox's 10th, it's forbidden for a character to disguise themselves as another without any clues. I didn't know that was the case. Does it mean... Hey, how's it going, Leonard? Does this mean... It's forbidden for a character to disguise themselves without clues. Does this mean there has to be a clue that someone disguised themselves, or something that hints that they're not the person they are? I assume that it's something that hints that either there was a disguise... I assume that it's either or, but I'm curious to how that's interpreted. Traditionally. So this rule is not a blanket applied to every scenario we've come across yet. This is the first time it's been blanket applied to every scenario. So this one's like an introduction.
何者かがローザに変装することを示唆する伏線は存在しません
The Nox rules are specific for the game. There have been no hints suggesting someone disguised themselves as Rosa. That much is true, I think. Like, from my impression, that's true, Delana.
また
Okay.
彼女が人間を隠蔽できる荷物を所持していなかったことをエリカは確認しています
Furthermore, Erica confirmed she wasn't carrying any luggage here large enough to hide a human in. I don't remember if she said that, but okay.
夏日おばさんは何者かに脅迫されていた
Natsuhi was being threatened by
招
someone.
かれざる未知の客人 X が真犯人なんだ
Unknown guest X is the true culprit. The Nox rules are specific for all games. Aren't they applied in general to all the games? As that's kind of the whole point of them. Is that, like, Beatrice is kind of roasting Battler for not knowing that her murders are following all of Nox's rules. As of, like, the second game, I'm pretty sure that's what she was saying. She's like, the fuck, like, that was why she was like, why would there be hidden passages? There's no hidden passages. Because she's like, do you not understand the rules of mystery, Battler? That can't be a thing. I believe every single game implements all of them. It's just they're not explained in all of them. Alright. So the uninvited unknown guest X is the true culprit. Good luck, Battler.
どうしてこの島には俺たちしかいないと断言
Like
でき
some
る
of them may not be relevant for the later ones. So for the earlier ones, some of them may not be relevant. So they aren't brought up because it's just a waste of dialogue to bring up rules that aren't relevant. I mean, you can introduce them earlier, but it helps to introduce them slowly for people to understand them. How can we be sure we're the only ones on the island? Oh boy. See, now he's going back to how can we be sure we're the only ones on the island. There's a mysterious extra 20th person, and it's like, Battler, dude, we've already been here. You aren't denying the red text, you're just denying the premises, but you haven't said, like, there's a contradiction, therefore I deny it. You're just asking if it's true that the red text that you didn't cover was... whatever.
真犯人は俺たち以外に存在するんだ
The true culprit's someone else? That's not gonna work.
ノックス第1条
Nox is first. People who aren't introduced can't be the
犯
culprit.
人は物語当初の登場人物以外を禁ず
It's forbidden for the culprit to be anyone not mentioned in the early part of the story.
毒物での遠隔殺人かもしれない
Killed with poison in a remote murder. Their throats were slit, Battler.
その死ぬと首に切れ込みができるような不思議な薬だ
They were a strange drug that can make a cut appear on someone's neck when they die. And listen, Battler, I have the answer to you. This is actually present in an episode of... Well, this is referenced in an episode of Doctor Who. It is implanted explosives, also known as very small bombs. That is, I think... Wait, what episode of... That was one of the episodes of, like, the newest couple seasons of Doctor Who with the female doctor. I believe they had the They had bombs implanted in their collarbones. Like a small glowing bomb implanted in their collarbone. I don't know what that would have looked like, but you know, a bomb implanted in your neck that fires shrapnel in a cone could sort of work. I mean, it would presumably have a casing left behind or some shit, but who knows? Nanjo's not an expert. If it could explode and then like roll down your esophagus or some shit. I'm making shit up, but of course Battler's just gonna be like, it's valid. I mean, Doctor Who's a sci-fi series, so Doctor Who's a sci-fi series. That's like the equivalent of claiming teleporters, but you know, sure, go for it. I mean, you could claim that there's a teleporter set up in the room to allow anyone to get into the room, but I think that the rules for the game, in terms of small bombs like this, and teleporters, are that you can't introduce complex mechanisms without introducing them first. So if there's a teleporter, someone has to have prevented the teleporter in the first place. And Doctor Who isn't a mystery, it's a science fiction. It's science fiction, and even if it was, special devices have to be introduced, because, you know, we could also use, if we wanted to use anything from Doctor Who, we could just say they pulled a fucking TARDIS out. We could just say they used a TARDIS or some other space-time warping device mechanism to get them there. Like, it's not hard. Now, presumably, you would hear a TARDIS, because you can hear it from, like, half a block away, but, you know. You can hear it from, like, a block away, but, you know, something else would work. Yeah. So, alright, that type of murder has a delayed effect, so even without an alibi, you're gonna get shot down immediately. I forget what rule it is, but it's advanced tech that's not introduced. Hideyoshi was killed by the Master? Yeah, sure. He was killed by the Master, or any number of horrors. There's plenty of alien horrors in Doctor Who. We don't need to have the Doctor kill anyone. He only kills people he has to. Nox is fourth. It's forbidden or for unknown drugs or hard to understand scientific devices to be used. Okay. Hold up. What's the name of those stupid aliens you forgot about the minute you stopped seeing them? There's a chance there existed a murder device X in the cousin room in Genji-san's waiting room that made a remote murder possible. I forget what the name of those aliens are. Not the Weeping Angels. I mean, there's a bunch of aliens in Doctor Who. I believe that's the Matt Smith era. The guys like don't have faces, but basically the second you look away, the second you lose sight of them, you forget they exist. Everything about them. So like they can literally walk up to someone. Like, two people in a room talking to each other, they can walk up to one, murder them, and then just push them over, and you look away for a quarter second, you'll completely forget they existed. And you'll be like, what the fuck, there's a corpse? And there'll be like no evidence of them existing. So we can use that. One of them casually walked in, Erica noticed it, but since it left her line of sight immediately, she forgot it existed. It went upstairs, killed them, did the same thing. There we go, like easy murders. I forget what the fuck they were called. I forgot what the fuck they were called, but that was pretty creepy. I also remember, let's see, I'm trying to remember, they were messing with people. I remember that, cause one of the characters, they went on a rant about how like they ruled the world in secret, and then one of the fucking agents was like, "Welcome to America," and just shot one. It's like, all right, that's the thing. Pull a gun without breaking eye contact, shoot them. You're good. Seems good. Anyway, yeah. So any number of bullshit science fiction stuff, but that's against the rules of Nox to introduce tech that you aren't aware of. So the tech has to be hinted for the murder to be possible. All right. I mean, we could also say a crack in space-time in the wall or something existed that people could walk through. Like, there's plenty of nonsense, but we don't want to come up with those because they haven't been introduced. So they can't be possible. So, okay, a chance existed a murder device X in the cousin's room and Genji-san's waiting room that made a remote murder possible. It had a secret mechanism that still hasn't been discovered, and No. No.
ノックス第
Nox is
8
A.
条提示されない手がかりでの解決を禁ず
It's forbidden for a case to be resolved with clues that are not presented. You can't invent devices.
とにかく夏日おばさん以外に真犯人がいるんだ。
There exists a culprit other than Aunt Natsuhi.
それを否定するなら登場人物全員について赤き真実で犯人でないと復唱してみろ。
If you want to deny that, try and repeat in red that none of the appearing characters were the culprit.
ノックス第
Nox is
6条
sick.
鑑定方法に偶然と第6巻の使用を禁ず
It's forbidden for accident or intuition to be employed as a detective technique.
夏日おばさん以外の全員にアリバイだと。
You said everyone other than Natsuhi has an
一
alibi?
人抜けてるぞ。
You're forgetting one
エ
person.
リカ自身のアリバイは誰がどうやって証明するんだ。
Rosa! What is Rosa's alibi? What is Rosa's alibi for not killing the 3 other people in the room with her? Who's gonna prove Erica herself has an alibi? Nox is I don't know what the fuck. Detective's not the culprit.
ノックス
Nox is 7.
第
Thank
7条
you.
探偵が犯人であることを禁ず
It's forbidden for the detective to be the culprit.
現行犯でない限り夏日おばさんが無実である可能性は常に否定できないはず。
Unless she's caught red-handed, you should never be able to deny the possibility Aunt Natsuhi is
エ
innocent.
リカの未発見の証拠 X によって無実が証明できる未来の可能性までを否定できるのか。
Can you deny future possibilities, like the piece of evidence that Erica hasn't discovered, proving Natsuhi's innocence? No, the detective finds all the evidence sufficient to convict the killer. These have been stated earlier in this,
ノックス
Chapter,
第
by the way.
8条
all the ones that pertain to the detective specifically, that were not, I think, that were not the hidden rooms one, I think, are introduced here.
提示されない手がかりでの解決を禁ず
It's forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented. Yeah. This
こ
tale
の
is,
物語は悪意ある虚実に満ちている。
tale is filled with malicious
夏
lies.
日おばさんを陥れようと物語自体が罠になっている。
The tale itself has become a trap to capture
公
Natsuki.
正な真実だけで物語を再構築するべき
The
だ。
tale should be constructed only from impartial truths. No, people are allowed to lie.
ノックス第9条
Nox is 9th.
観測者は自分の判断解釈を主張することが許される
It is permitted for observers to let their own conclusions and explanations be heard.
俺が犯人で例えば24時以降にジョージの兄貴たちが死ぬように遅効性の毒を盛り
I was the culprit. Maybe I gave George, Aniki, and the others a slow-acting poison to make them die after 2400.
午前3時に戻った俺が音もなく首を切断した
Then
可能
silently
性。
slit their throats when I returned at 3 a.m. No, Erica is listening.
君耳のエリカに聞かれないくらいに
I
静
could
か
have
に。
done it so quietly Erica wouldn't hear.
ノックス第8条提示されない手がかりでの解決を禁ず
It's forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented. Come on, Battler.
みんなは自殺なんだ。
You're being beaten down by an inquisitor. They ain't even using their sword. They're just throwing the book at you. Delanor making moves. Everyone committed suicide.
だから犯人は存在し
There's
ない
no。culprit. Classic Battler. No culprit. Only solution. Everyone is a bad answer. That's not quite my Rosa. My Rosa theory is only that one person killed themselves.
慎んで
Allow me to
申し上げる
speak. There's only one person I'm accusing of committing suicide. There's only one person. I accuse Genji of committing suicide. Everyone else, I don't know how he did it, but I am saying he could have, but I don't think Rosa. I don't think that the Rosa theory is still sort of there for those people. And that's what I'd like to see go on. Or happen. Or get denied. So everyone committed suicide. Now, Rosa's thing is unlikely because it would have required everyone to be immediately fatal. Oh, he's saying Rosa or Genji's the culprit? He says specifically everyone, so there's no culprit. I'm saying there is a culprit. The culprit is dead. So, like, I don't know how the Genji one is involved, because I think the timing doesn't work. Oh, yeah, okay, me. Yeah. Yeah, I'm saying, I think the people in the room with Rosa, I can say Rosa started a fight, killed Maria, and, like, George stabbed her in the throat, she stabbed Jessica and George, resulting in all four of them dying by bleeding out. It should have left more of a mess, but, like, who the fuck cares? It's a really weird guess where, like, one or more people died via stabbing in the throat with knives, resulting in everyone dying. Allow me to
犠
speak.
牲者は全員他
All
殺
victims'
なり
deaths were homicides. If everyone in the room with Battler killed each other... Oh, that's good news. Okay. All victim deaths were homicides. That's good. So we know for a fact that there are no suicides. If none of them committed suicide, Rosa didn't kill herself. I'm not saying Rosa killed herself. I'm saying Rosa... Like, I'm saying it's incredibly improbable, but okay. Like, let's say we... I mean, the room's too clean for this, presumably. But let's have an incredibly far-fetched scenario where, like, Rosa flips the fuck out, pulls a knife on Maria, stabs her in the throat, Maria dies. George and Jessica are kind of like, what the fuck? Rosa panics and goes after George, who, I don't know, has a pocket knife. Jessica gets stabbed in the throat. George gets stabbed in the throat. Maria or Rosa realizes what she's done and is like, oh shit, I just killed like half my I killed like half my family, I'm a horrible person. Goes to Maria, keels over dead. Like, Rosa has a breakdown. Okay? She flips the fuck out, gets super violent, kills people. The end. This results in 4 people dying via homicide, no suicides, and it could be Rosa. Like, I don't want to say Rosa's a psychopath, but like, there's a way that 4 people died in the room without any new people being introduced to the formula that you find in the room. It's very far-fetched, but this game is all about proposing really far-fetched stuff. That is my solution for those murders. I do not know Genji's kill, but that is possibly because my mind has stopped working. And I know the game says not to let that happen, but I haven't come up with a better solution. Who killed Rosa? I'm saying, like, Rosa basically traded. Like, you know, she went to stab George. She went to stab George or some shit, and, like, George stabbed her back, resulting in her bleeding out. That's what happened. Basically, they all stabbed each other in a violent fight. Now, how does that work when Hideyoshi dies? How does that work when Genji dies? Don't know. But I mean, I'm just trying to solve for one room. I'm solving for one room and saying, like, Rosa could be the killer for this room. How does Genji die? Not quite sure, since the room is sealed as he goes into it. A little bit unusual. I guess I'd check the windows for Genji's room. I don't know if there are windows in Genji's room or any other way in. Presumably they're sealed, but that would be, like, my first question. Yeah, and then Hideyoshi I'm going to have to solve at some point, like, who knows. Hideyoshi, I mean, Natsuhi. I don't know if there can be multiple culprits. Could I say Natsuhi's actually the killer for Hideyoshi? I don't know. There are no windows in the servants' room, you think? Yeah, I think that's the case, which makes it seem very difficult unless you wanted to say Ava is the killer. It could be Ava the killer, right? Like, okay, so the way Ava phrased it is she basically says she went with Rosa. So no one but Rosa went into that room. Rosa went into the guest house, and as she split, Ava says she went to Genji's room and sealed it in. Which means, unless Genji went out there and killed anyone, which he didn't do. So, unless Genji, which has been stated, didn't leave the room, or didn't leave the building. Unless Genji went out in there and killed him. Someone has to have gone into his room and killed him. It could be Ava because she sealed the room. But that leaves us with multiple culprits. I don't know if that's the case. Or I don't know if that's the case or, like, should be the case. But she did say she sealed his room, which means she had time to seal him in. Which means she had time to interact with the door. Okay? Which means, like, she could have gone into the room and killed him. I don't know if the case, but that's like a proposition. The person who sealed him in killed him. That leaves us with 2 people committing murder. but one of them is dead, leaving us with one culprit, maybe? I'm not sure if it makes too much sense, because then does that mean Eva killed Hideyoshi? Bit strange for her to kill Hideyoshi. However, she was there. Right? She was there. But it seemed like Hideyoshi was uncertain who he was interacting with, so it doesn't really follow that she killed Hideyoshi, but we haven't even gotten to the second trial yet. Let's just keep throwing stuff out and seeing if someone can prove that it wasn't Eva doing the killing. Eva could have killed Hideyoshi. She was there in the vicinity when he died, right? She was screaming. She was saying things. Maybe she came into the room. Maybe she came into the room and stabbed him. He would have unlocked the door for him. He would have unlocked the door for her, presumably. I don't think it's clear from what Natsuhi said that's what happened, or what Natsuhi heard that's what happened. But, like, she is in the vicinity, strangely enough. Yeah, she right? I don't know how to explain the keychain lock then. But I also don't know how to explain the keychain lock if Natsuhi isn't the killer. Because the keychain lock, or the chain locks can't be opened from the inside, or from the outside. They can only be opened or closed from the inside, which means Hideyoshi either committed suicide for no reason, or was murdered by Natsuhi because there's no hidden rooms, right? Like, it's not possible for the locker from the outside. So I have to be, like, stuck with something weird like Natsuhi got out of the closet. Like, remember, Natsuhi's, we don't know if Natsuhi has objective truth, like her vision and her perspective are true, because Natsuhi's seen things or said she saw things that weren't true before. So, could Natsuhi have killed Hideyoshi? Yes. If we say Eva is the killer of Genji, then we say Eva's the killer of Hideyoshi, and Natsuhi gets out of the room, closes the room, like, adds the room lock chain, because she's terrified someone's gonna find it, and then they find it again. Like, maybe? I don't fucking know. Like, it seems like a really weird train of thought, but maybe Natsuhi relocked the door after Eva left. I don't fucking know. It seems dumb, but, like, maybe that's the argument. If Eva's the killer, she killed Hideyoshi. Why? I don't have a motive. I'm just saying that, like, that seems possible. We have her in the vicinity. We only have audio, and the audio is, of course, suspect. In fact, even the visuals would be suspect. Because, I mean, we can have witches fight spell duels. If a witch can fight a spell duel in front of Natsuhi, or a literal demon can spawn in and murder someone, and she will say, oh, a demon spawned in and murdered someone. Like, someone summoned a demon. Demonic summoning is not a realistic answer, so you can't use that as the murderer. So, like, everyone's vision is suspect, and you kind of tweak things as long as the things, like, multiple people agree with that are grounded in reality occurred. Sort of. I think that's kind of how I'm deriving things. So I'm saying the lock with the chain was possibly real, which means somehow we did this. Alright. All the victim deaths are homicides. Good stuff. Erica didn't personally examine the corpses. It should be possible for people who aren't the detective to make a mistake when examining corpses.
金家、謹んで申し上げる。
Allow me to speak.
すべての死体は決して検視を誤れぬものと知りたく
No
なくて。
examination of the corpses could have been mistaken. I think as long as you can think of a way. She locks the door with the keychain from the outside. I don't think it's possible to lock the door with the keychain from the outside. It is presumably, it is generally considered too difficult to do that without telekinesis, if you've used those doors before. Maybe there were body double corpses. Okay. How did the bodies get there? Where are the real bodies? Ushimura Battler? That doesn't really follow. They prepared corpses beforehand that closely resembled the victims. We've been here before, Battler.
登場人物以外の死体は登場しないと知りたまえ。
Know that no corpses exist except those of characters who appeared in the story. You're saying the corpse of Kinzo is an option. Using the corpse of Kinzo is an option for one of the bodies. Just pointing that out. Based on the phrasing, no corpses exist except those of characters who appeared in the story. Disguising Kinzo's corpse as George's seems really far-fetched, but it is not being denied here. Is George the killer? George's killer threat? George killer theory?
ならどうして死体のないクラウスおじさんが死んでると宣言できるんだ。
No one would mistake Kinzo by sight. That was red text from another round. I mean, Battler's contesting red text that wasn't stated for all things and is doing ones that were stated for everything. So why not ask that stupid question? They would obviously respond with no one would mistake Kinzo by sight. But he's going down that route anyway. Let's add one to his list of things to confirm. How can you claim Uncle Cross is dead without his
ノッ
corpse?
クスの第何条だかに違反するんじゃねえのか。
Doesn't that violate Nox's something throughout whatever?
赤き真実はただ真実であり、証拠
Know
も
that
証明
red
の
truth
必
is
要もない
truth.
と知りたてまつれ。
There is no need to provide evidence or proof for red truth. In that case, Battler? Can Battler please just vomit out the red truth he knows to be true? Not that he is not guilty? What the? He has the red truth. Why does he not just use it and say, come to a conclusion that will not involve it? This section of the series annoys you because of what you're noticing? Yeah, it's a bit annoying. Oh well. In the face of these insane arguments, any attempts to overturn the truth where Natsuhi is treated as a culprit are completely meaningless. What if he just said something like, red truth, and Natsuhi's not the culprit? I mean, even if he's operating from that assumption, maybe he can generate... If he operated from the assumption, then he could find something else, but he seems to just be panicking. It is what it is, though. It's Battler. Seems he's grown less than you think he has, except in his love for Beatrice. That is more than you think it is. Each time I brandished my desperate blue truths, Delanor and the others' red truths knocked me down to the floor. It was getting hard to even stand back up again. I mean, it's annoying, but I think I understand it if I consider that the way this game is packaged, is that this is effectively like a reintroduction, and maybe there was a delay in development for the last 4 arcs. So people are more likely to need a refresher. Like, consider that maybe there's like a 2-year delay or something. People have to wait 2 years to figure out and don't remember things because they're not going to reread 152 hours of visual novel when the sequel comes out that continues the story. That's a possibility because of how slow the release pace might have been. Because I think these are repackaged, right? Like this is, I think this was repackaged because it was chapter by chapter. I think it was originally chapter by chapter, and this is a repackage with 4 and 4. So if it was released chapter by chapter originally, if he's doing a summary, it might have meant a delay when developing. And he felt like that was appropriate. So even if I feel like it's useless here because I'm watching them back by back, it's somewhat more useful. It's like when you see recaps at the start of episodes of like TV series, and you personally think they're a complete waste of time because, you know, they have so much more they could be doing than giving me a fucking recap. Well, they're intentionally trying to make sure they fill up all of the airtime for the slot they have, and they're doing this for the people who are watching it weekly or even like haven't seen it in 6 months or more than a year because the season ended, right? That's the way you can kind of take it if it's like a big chunk. This is the new game half, so maybe there's a delay. Yeah. That said, his story is a single coherent story that mostly relies on you remembering everything that happened in the previous scenes of the story. So I don't know why his release cadence would be low for the individual chapters, nor do I know why there would be a recap, because a significant delay seems like something that would seriously impede people's memory of this game, as it's too big of a time investment to go through it again. Alright, it was getting hard to stand up back again. Like, this game is, the way this game is made, this novel is made such that you should not be releasing these, like, annually. Like, if he's releasing these one per year, he is doing something wrong. These are things that should, if they're released in pieces, they should be, like, once a week or once a month. It should be, like, once a month. Does this mean my body is telling me I'm about to surrender? The truth where Aunt Natsuhi is the culprit? The red truth is getting more and more perfect. Each time I think I can slip through a chink in their armor. Delanor smacks me down with a red longsword of Nox. You can tell this is the real battler instead of Burn Castell or Lambda Delta's battler because he's incompetent again, by the way. Even if you knew nothing else, you know this is the real battler because he's fucking up left, right, and center. At least he's entertaining Beatrice. He's making his girlfriend laugh, okay? He's doing a good job making her laugh, if anything. If nothing else, he can make Beatrice laugh. It's enough battle. Now the endless torture that torments me, no, us, will finally end. Let's follow it together into the depths. I don't want to see Beato like this. Her Majesty is ruler of the Golden Land. Her enthusiasm as my rival are completely gone. She is just a pitiful woman who's been trampled over and lost all hope, with tears streaming down her face and a tragic smile I can't bear to look at. Does your truth no longer exist? No. I have one. One last thing. And that is a different truth? Where Natsuhi isn't the culprit? Did he actually say that? I think that was, there was no without a voice. Whatever. That's not it. All I can do is prove Natsuhi isn't the culprit. After that, I can't show what the real truth is at all. Even so, maybe at least you'll be saved that way. Why? I can show without a doubt that Aunt Natsuhi isn't the culprit. But I cannot show a different truth. If Erika's truth is dispersed, your crime will return to darkness and there might be a room for you to exist. If you can do it. If you can't show a new truth, that means you're incompetent and useless as a player. I mean, is he still? I'll have you vanish from this game board for all eternity. At this point, the game master is Lambda Delta, and she is there too. This probably doesn't mean losing a single game, but being banished from this game forever for losing. From what the witches have said in the past, I can faintly imagine the place pieces are sent when they're banished. It's known as the depths of oblivion, an eternal darkness that lies on the far side of an eternal oblivion, and where there is no concept of life nor death. I'm gonna disappear, aren't I? However, Beato will remain, and as long as Beato remains, no matter how suspicious Aunt Natsuhi is, there will always remain space for the witch to be the culprit. In other words, room for Natsuhi to not be the culprit. As long as that space exists, someone will eventually expose the truth, and it doesn't have to be me. Anyway, eventually, someone will smash this fake truth to pieces. I understand that the time had come to abandon myself for the sake of this other person who would eventually appear. Wait, Meta Battler is sacrificing himself for the sake of one of the pieces not appearing guilty? So that Beato can continue existing? That is so stupid. That is so unbelievably stupid, but okay. For the sake of the real truth. Well, looks like I have to break my promise to kill you after all. Don't.
わらわだけ生き残らせるな。
Don't leave me as the only one alive.
そなたと共に
I'll disappear with you.
わらわも消える。それがわらわへの最後の手向けとなるのだ。
He's sacrificing himself for innocent Natsuhi. Natsuhi is a piece. The relevance is pretty low. How many pieces have died already? How many times has Natsuhi died? I don't really care too much. I'll disappear with you. Let that be your final tribute to me.
頼む。
I beg you. You do this
その
one
願
thing.
いだけ叶えて
I
く
don't
れ
need
れば
anything else.
他には何もいらないから。
名残はつきましたか？
Have you used up everything you
や
have?
はりあなたには失望です。
I'm disappointed in you,
後ろに
battler. Beatrice did the same earlier? You mean she lied about doing the same?
とっとと引導を
Quickly.
渡してくだ
Performance
さい。
Requiem.
夏日さんの罪を暴く私の独壇場が残ってますので。
That way I'll have an open field in which to expose Natsuhi's son's sin.
本当に面白いわ。あん
These
たた
guys
ち
really
は。
are interesting. Beatrice did not do the same earlier. She lied about doing that, and it was all a trick to make you admit that witches were real.
ベアトリーチェ。
Beatrice.
後ろ宮バトラ
Ushiromiya battling.
ー。でももう飽きたわ。
I've gotten tired of this.
私たちのゲームにもう
You
あん
aren't
たたち
needed
は必
in
要
our
ないわ。
game.
「おやりなさいドラノール!」
Do it, Delanor!
これでおしまいです。
This is the end.
最後の力がまだあるなら、
If you have one bit of power,
せめて最後にそれを振り絞って見せてください。
let me see you muster it now in your last moments. It's a small, but it's a sparkling red truth. The last trump card Virgilia gave me. Erica, this takes your theory back to square one.
できるものならどうぞ。
If you can, why not go ahead?
食らいやが
Take this.
れ後ろ宮夏日は犯人にあらず
Ushirumi Anatsuhi is not the culprit. In red. The red truth is simply truth, with no evidence or proof needed. This will make Delanor stagger, even if it's all it does. It's the first and last strike I can make.
Nox 第
Nox
認
is
知探
second.
偵方法に超自然能力の使用を禁
It's
止。
forbidden for supernatural agencies to be employed as a detective technique. Hmm? You can't use that. They already used that to disprove something with via red truth. My red truth was blown away by Delanor's longsword. Red truth not valid. It wouldn't have worked. Didn't Delanor literally use this not 5 minutes ago? To say, fuck you, red truth is valid regardless of whether or not there's proof? The red truth works regardless. You can't say that, Delanor. Whatever. Alright. Red truth is always red truth. If he's able to state it, it's absolute truth. You can't do that. Unless red truth is only based on perspective. Yes, Delanor explicitly stated red truth does not require it, so your red truth is not blown away. She's merely stating an alternative fact that's irrelevant. Continue to state that red truth is red truth regardless. Regardless of whether or not anything happens. Alright. It's already been stated as red.
この法廷で魔女以外が赤き真実を語
In
る
this
な
court,
ら
if anything other than witches speak the red
それに
truth,
ふさわしい証明を
they
構
need to
築
construct
して
an
ちょうだい。
appropriate proof for it. That is not the case in previous arcs. You cannot pull rules like that out of your ass, Lambda
エ
Delta.
リカはこ
Alright.
れまでその手順を踏んできたはずよ。
Erica's been following this procedure, correct? Yes, but it's garbage. True, Erica hadn't used the red herself even once. She always had Burn Castell, a witch, repeats her statements.
あなたのその赤き真実は
Your red truth isn't
あ
something
な
you
たの
obtained for
超常
yourself.
存在から授けら
It's
れ
a
た
supernatural truth
超
given
自
by a
然の
paranormal
真
being.
実よ。
Hmm, okay. It's saying use the evidence in the story to solve this.
すなわち
In other words, it
つ
isn't
いでた
reasoning.
らめな思いつき
It's
と
no
同
better than a
じ
random thought.
ということよ。
In that case, can you not discard all your supernatural sources, including the one that you just shut down of battlers? Because red truth does not require an explanation, but it now does. That's fine. Alright, we can ignore red truths. I like that. I'm just going to write that down. Red truths can all be ignored. They can because they're witches. They can because they're witches. Nox is second. It is forbidden for supernatural agencies to be employed as a detective technique. You cannot use someone else's red truth to tell you what's true or confirm it. So Berncastell's red truths are all invalid because they are being used to definitively prove that something is the case and seal it in red. Can't be done. This is not a justification. You can't have Berncastell speak that she's red and she can use it because she's a witch with Erica on her side. Therefore, all of Berncastell's red truths are invalid. The red is only to give truth, it's not evidence. But that's the point. I believe, hold up. I can't scroll back far enough, but if I scroll back to the arguments Battler was throwing out, he said something was not something was not there, and then she's like, it's red truth. And he's like, well, okay. And she's like, red truths don't, he's like, there's no proof. And she's like, red truths don't require verification. So if red truth requires evidence, under some circumstances, it requires evidence under all circumstances. But it specifically can't be used to divine stuff, which Erica is using to divine the veracity of her statements. Whatever. Not important. They can apply rules as they want. How would the real battler use that truth? Virgilia is not real. Neither are the people he's arguing against. The people he's arguing against aren't real. Erica's not real. And Erica's ability to ask someone to give her red truth so that she can claim it as proof for her evidence against someone is also wrong. So basically, like, if Erica asks someone to say something and then they say it in red to verify that her statement is true. If Erica says something without evidence and then Berncastell backs it up, which is what she did for one of the statements, which Battler contested and was told red truth is absolute, they can't turn around and say that, this because it violates the second, because guess who the detective is? Erica. Now, for the other statements, maybe you could argue that she's using it to confirm her already evidenced truths, but since one of her arguments was like that, it should collapse. And in any case, she's using red anyway, so she's showing evidence, but she's using red to divine the truth of her assumptions and statements. Whatever. Cool. Yeah, sure. In that case, if I have Virgilia say the same red truth, where's Virgilia? She's gone, obviously.
あなたがその若き真実を掲げるにはそれにふさわしい構築が必要です。
If you are to present that red truth, you must construct an appropriate argument. Can you do that? Not Berncastell, it's, we have a witch right behind us. The witch can repeat it. Easy. It's impossible. Beatrice is right beside you and believes you, so if she red truths it, you're fine. Just turn to Beatrice and be like, don't give up, just say the red truth. It's truth, but they demand a witch say it. That would be the solution. Right here, if they really want to follow that rule. Also, amusingly, since Erica can ask people to repeat stuff in red that she's proven with evidence, then Battler can probably do the same with Beatrice to construct his evidence. Even better, he can use it as a detective technique because that's what the one he contested about not having evidence is, if I recall correctly. So, since I wish I could go back and scan this, but I wish I could like skim this backwards. But I believe one of the arguments Battler presented is the blue truth. He contested, and then she said red truths do not require evidence, which means one of her points is based not on evidence but on red truth. And since her point is based on red truth, that means if he asked Beatrice to repeat stuff until he got the exact truth he was looking for, he could do that and use it as evidence, and the second would not apply, assuming he came up with a valid reason or came up with the evidence afterwards. He can come up with the absolute truth of what happened, but he has to do it via red truth if he doesn't want to investigate further. The context is Kraus being killed in red, which Byrne was saying it just to spite Natsuhi. Yes. Kraus is not dead, and Byrne said it to spite Natsuhi. Right. And since Byrne Castell said it without evidence, since Byrne Castell said that Kraus was dead without evidence, and it's just simply the truth, and being discovered with no proof, therefore we can ask the same thing or have something said via Beatrice's mouth, and we can ask her to just spam red truth until we win, because Beatrice is on our side and doesn't want Natsuhi to be guilty. And then we just, if they really care about the proof justification, we don't have to care, but we can say, well, okay, we can say, here's the reasoning, and then we can come up with the reasoning. Like, we can come up with it and come up with the reasoning afterwards if they insist on it, but we don't actually have to do it because in the context of Kraus being killed, Byrne Castell just said it, and it was accepted as truth because fuck the second rule. Therefore, if we're using Kraus is dead because red truth said he is dead as an argument, we can use something else, and if they really insist on the second rule, we will just use, we'll work in reverse. Basically, like, we can ask Beatrice to say who the culprit is. She can say, go through everyone, say who the culprit is. She tries to say who the culprit is. Okay, someone's the culprit. We found the culprit, then work backwards from knowing who the culprit is to generate a reason as to how they are guilty. And because that truth will work, that truth is inherently true, it will work in the framework of the existing red truths. So, like, you can say something like Genji snuck, like, okay, you can say, you know, you say, like, Genji snuck out into the guest house and killed them, okay? You say something like that. It didn't happen, but, like, let's say you could say that. You say that, and you can work for, like, if Genji's the killer, you can work from the verse. You're like, okay, Genji snuck out and did this. Genji did this. And all of the things you have to say just have to be in the framework of the red truth that already exists. Which would then inherently, because of the rules of Nox, would have the rules. Basically, you can work in reverse of a story as long as you can get someone to say this. And since Beatrice doesn't want Natsuhi to be guilty, she should in theory be willing to provide you with a bunch of red truths for free. That said, who knows the fuck if the game will do that, but you can do that. You can do that. You just work from the conclusion to the evidence. Byrne only knows red truth because Lambda's giving it to her. They're working together to frame Natsuhi. Byrne doesn't actually know the truth. She only knows what she needs to know for the plan. We haven't seen any of that happen. We haven't seen a single line of dialogue between Byrne and Lambda that indicates the truth. Byrne has to actually know the truth to achieve that. Or are you saying we can just arbitrarily pick people? No. It's implied. How else does Byrne know any red for the game? Because Byrne knows the truth because she's a witch. And because she's probably more intelligent than Battler and pieced together exactly what's true. I'm going to assume that Byrne Castell is very intelligent and analytical and actually solved the crime as it was occurring. Because she knows Lambda Delta very well and, like, she can fucking use her future sight bullshit to determine exactly what happened. She can use her, like, fragments ability to determine exactly what happened, piece together, and then she just moves on with her life. I think Byrne Castell can know the truth if she wants to know the truth. Byrne Castell is the Witch of Miracles. She can know the truth and find it out herself. Now, the way this works fits badly with our rules, but I think in the framework we could use Beatrice to come up with a conclusion in like 5 minutes, come up with a solution in like 5 to 10 minutes, simply by just using Beatrice's ability to define red truth. Or Beatrice's ability to speak the red truth. Or we could just use Beatrice. Like, I think the simplest solution is just to tell Beatrice to say it, but whatever. It's impossible. I just don't have the truth that Natsuhi isn't the culprit. I just have the truth that Natsuhi isn't the culprit without any basis or evidence.
Nah.
See? It's not how red truth works. The way red truth works is that it's absolute and you can use it to divine things. As for example, Battler was able to use it to divine the fact that he was not his mother's son. You can use it to acquire truths you didn't previously have. That's why humans aren't supposed to have it, because it's literal divination. That's why the rule is like humans can't use it, because humans can't know anything because they exist in the human world. I think that's the reasoning why humans aren't supposed to use red truth. Or aren't allowed to use red truth, which is kind of okay. But it means that anyone magical can use it because they can acquire it via magical means.
本当の真実なんて
Red truth is a fragile thing.
儚いんだよ
If they hadn't had the scene where Battler tried to say that he was his own mother's son and it was wrong, I would have said that maybe you have to know things to be able to speak red truth. But since Battler was able to actually generate new information by using the red truth directly, it's more like a rule of the court that you can't do that, which is kind of bullshit. But whatever. If they want to introduce new rules last minute, that's fine. Red truth's a fragile thing. Does real truth exist? Is it necessary? Without it, the tale will continue on. Battler. Come on, Battler. Prove the red you've shown. If you can't, this is goodbye. Then. Goodbye. Sorry. Sorry, Beto.
言うな
Don't say that.
今日まで付き合ってくれ
Thanks
て
for sticking around with
こ
me.
んな血まみれの
It
物
was
語
such a
であった
bloodstained
ら
tale.
楽しかったぞ
It was fun.
それではこれにて当
This
法廷
trial is now
は
finished.
平成ですです
Finished.
ですですですですですですですですですですですですですですですですです
She's still going. She's still going. It's still going. Are you serious? I'm not gonna repeat that. It's finished. Note that there's an irregular amount of spacing in some of these. It's finished. Okay. It's not the sound alert we want, but the sound alert we need. Die the death!
Sentence to death. Great
Sentence-
equalizer is the death.
Well, it's the Great Equalizer's the death. Okay. With that, the trial for the 5th game ended. The detective Furuto Erika accused the culprit Ushirimiya Natsuhi. There are 3 riddles the detective must explain. First, whodunit? Who's the culprit? As previously stated, it's Ushirimiya Natsuhi. The second is howdunit? How'd they carry out the crime during the hour between 2400 on October 4th and 100 the next day? Ushirimiya Natsuhi went to the cousin's room on the 2nd floor of the guest house and the servant waiting room on the 1st floor of the mansion. There she carried out the murders. It's only possible for the crime to have taken place during that hour, and for that 1 hour, alibis have been proven for all characters except Natsuhi. It's not stated, remember. From the sky, a massive red longsword, even greater in size than the one Delanor held, came crashing down like a thunderbolt, piercing through Battler's heart and pinning him to the floor. In that instant, Beatrice became a golden splash and faded away, and her former minions disappeared as well. As the heartless witches looked down at the cathedral center, laughing coldly, all that remained was Battler with the longsword sticking through him and Delanor. Rosa came back at 1. Correct. If Rosa came back at 1, she couldn't have been dead at 1 o'clock because it takes more than 1 second for someone to travel from the parlor. It takes more than 1 attosecond for someone to travel from between the parlor and her own room. Alright. The red longsword taking the Dolinar? Cool. Alright, Battler's gone.
安らかに眠れ。後ろ宮バ
Rest
ト
in
ラー。
peace, Ashirmia Battler.
残念です。
Rest in peace.
あなた
What
は
a shame.
も
I
っと
thought
でき
you were a
る
more
人
capable
だ
person than
と
this.
思っていました。
Battler blew bubbles of blood, closed his eyes slowly, and died. Alright, rip Battler. Cool. Dolinar stared on in silence. By the way, probably the least climactic end ever. And also the dumbest end, because we know Battler's not dead. It's like, we have 3 chapters left. The character isn't fucking dead. Alright. This is a dumb and random ending where our protagonist didn't even attempt to put up a fight, and they're trying to make it seem dramatic. If he had done anything other than throw things that weren't actually a solution at the wall, I would have maybe felt like he was actually losing, but the fact that they didn't send anything even remotely coherent at his opponents, makes it seem like he's throwing, or the author's writing him to be really stupid. Like, he's throwing questions that don't seem like something that would actually solve the problem. Like, he spent the whole trial thinking she's not guilty, but he didn't bother to attempt to approach an alternative truth. Or throw anything other than exactly what they said in red couldn't be true as blue. Which is very silly. Dolinar stared on in silence and turned on her heels when she saw his life leave him. After that, all that remained was the corpse of this sorrowful man, pierced by the sword that acted as a massive red grave marker, lit by the faint glow let in from the cathedral's skylight. Alright. So, we go into the tea room now? I'm kind of curious. Are we going to the tea room? And then, there is the third riddle the detective must uncover. The final riddle. The why done it. Why did they commit the crime? The motive. In the third-rate mysteries, there's no need to uncover this. After all, even if you don't expose the motive, the culprit will just confess when it's all said and done. However, Furuto Erika was first-rate, so she would expose even this. Oh? Natsuhi was being confined in the parlor under everyone's watchful gazes. Is she gonna fail to uncover this and accidentally rid truth Natsuhi out of guilt? I wonder what's gonna happen. Then Erika made use of everyone to diligently and persistently search all places, even Natsuhi's room, for clues about her motive.
さて、お集まりの皆さん。
Well, now that we've all
こ
gathered,
のような恐ろしい殺人に何が後宮夏日さんを駆り立てたのか。
just what is it that drove Ushiromiya Natsuhi-san to commit these terrible murders?
探偵フルドエリカの調査により、その輪郭が浮かび上がってまいりました。
Through my investigation, I, the detective Furuto Erika, have discovered the general outline that explains
そ
this.
れをここにご報告させていただきたいと思います。
I'd like to announce it now. Everyone remained silent, urging her to continue. Erika tossed some of Natsuhi's possessions that had been confiscated onto the table.
まず、これらは夏日さんの部屋から発見された過去の日記帳です。
First, these are past diaries discovered in Natsuhi-san's
近
room.
年ではほとんど書かれていませんが、
They've been barely used at all in recent years.
後宮家に籍を入れたばかりの頃については、詳細な記述があ
They
ります。
describe in detail the period shortly after she became part of the Ashiramiya family.
これらの多くは鍵付きの日記帳に封じられていましたが、
Most of them were locked, but in order to find the full truth behind this
事件
crime,
の全貌を暴くために、
I used my
全員の
authority
承認を受けた
which
私の
everyone
権
acknowledged
限これらの鍵をすべて破壊させてい
to
ただき
destroy
ま
the
した。
locks on all of them.
人でなし
How barbaric.
人の日記を
Reading
読むなんて
another person's diary.
ならあんたは何よ、殺人鬼。
If we're barbaric, what does it make you a
お
murderer?
前ごときにプライバシーなんてあるわけないで
Criminal
し
like
ょ。
you has no right to privacy.
この日記帳から浮かび上がったのは、
And this is what I found from these diaries.
夏日さんはクラウスさんと特殊な事情でご結婚なされたらしいということです。
Natsuhi-san ended up married to Kraus due to special circumstances. I kind of expect this from Furuto Erika. I'm kind of surprised that she didn't already read everybody's diary. via detective powers, but she didn't really need to because she didn't have to dig deep. Doesn't surprise me that this is something that she's doing. But alright. She ended up married to Kraus-san due to special circumstances. Sure, fire away.
ここにいらっしゃる皆さんは私よりご存知なのでは？
I imagine all of you here know much more about this than I
ナ
do.
チシさん、クラウスさんご夫婦は恋愛結婚でもお見合い結婚でもありません。
Natsuhi-san and Kraus-san were not married because of love or as a normal arranged
いわば
marriage.
人質のような結婚でした。
If anything, it's more like taking a hostage.
そのようなことはありません。
It's not true.
この赤い日記帳の24ページに以下の記述があり
This
ま
is
す。
written on the 24th page of this red diary.
私は後宮家に嫁という名で軟禁された人質なのです。
I'm a hostage being imprisoned by the Ishiromiya family under the guise of
でも
marriage.
私が人質となることで全てが丸く収まるならば、
However, if everything can be resolved in this way,
夏日さん、あなた
Natsuhi-san,
は自分が人質であったことをここですでにお認めになっています。
I mean, that could easily be dismissed as incredibly flowery language, but alright. Right here, you've already acknowledged you were a
熊
hostage.
沢さんは夏日さんがここに来られた当初からお世話をしていますね。
Kumasawa-san, you've served Natsuhi-san since the time she first
当
came
時
here,
の
right?
ことを話してくださいませんか？
Can you tell me what it was like at the time?
ええ、
That's correct.
ええ、そうです。私にそうこぼされたこともございまし
I did catch wind of something similar to what you
た。
described.
奥様のご結婚について今は私と南條先生くらいのものでしょうか。
Only Dr. Nanjo and I know the details regarding Madame's marriage.
ですな。
Rude,
当時
rude.
は金蔵さんが縦横無尽に活躍する黄金時代だった。
It was during Kinzo's golden era when he did whatever he
金
pleased.
蔵さんはあらゆる敵を打ち倒し、経済力を拡大していったのです。
All of his enemies and expanded his financial
夏
power.
日さんの家もそんな敵の一つでした。
Natsuhi-san's family was one of those enemies. As though the time to talk had suddenly come at hand, Kumasawa and Nanjo openly delved into territory that never should have been touched upon again. Alright. This was concerning the period during which Kinzo was most feared for his ferocity. It was said that though Kinzo had many assets and connections, he held a grudge after being looked down upon by members in the elite as being an upstart. Because of this, apparently, Kinzo wanted to find Kraus a wife from a notable family and use this to raise the Ishiromiya family's status. Then he overcame Natsuhi's family in a financial struggle and proposed a marriage could be performed as a method of reconciliation. And the person he picked was, well, Natsuhi. Natsuhi had been raised to be clean and pure in a family of Shinto priests, making her a true noble lady. Alright. By choosing her, not only did Kinzo cause them the worst possible humiliation, he also won what he considered to be a nice trophy. Alright then. Okay, so that marriage proposal was humiliating to Natsuhi from the very beginning. Oh god. Alright.
この辺りの経緯については
Oh,
今熊沢さんと南條先生がお話しくださったもの
apparently I can't spell stare. Oh boy. Oh boy. Regarding the aforementioned facts, both Kumasawa-san and Dr. Nanja's claims just now match with the contents of the diaries.
日記帳に記されている内容が合致します。
Therefore, since the time Natsuhi-san first took the name of Ishiromiya Natsuhi,
以上から夏日さんは後宮夏日を名乗るこ
he's
と
held a
となっ
long
た当初から
resentment against the
Ishiromiya
Ishiromiya family. Alright, that's our plan.
激しい憎悪を持っていたことが
What do you have to say,
お分かりになると思います
Natsuhi-san?
どうですか夏日さん
Do you?
それはお
acknowledge
認めになりますか
All of the cold gazes turned to face Natsuhi.
確かに最初はそう
It's
思って
true.
いま
I
した。
thought so at first.
私は愛のない結婚を強要された花嫁という名の人質だとそう思
I
ってい
thought
ま
I
し
was
た
being forced into a marriage without love, a hostage under the guise of a bride.
ですが夫は私を人質などと見下しはしませんでした。
However, my husband never viewed me as a mere hostage.
私の事情を理解し、同情と慈しみを与えてくれました。
He understood what I'd gone through and gave me compassion and affection.
夫だけは私の理解者だったのです。
He's the only one who could understand me.
なるほど。
I see, I
そ
see.
れは一理あります。
That makes sense.
確かにあなたの日記にはクラウスさんがあなたの事情を知って
There are many scenes in your diaries showing Kraus-san knew of your difficulties and showed kindness. How did you manage to read all of this, Erica?
気遣ってくれる描写がいく
However,
つ
on
か散見
page
できます。
47 of this
し
diary,
かしあなたはそれをこちらの日記帳の47ページで
you describe these moments as being unpleasant, correct?
むしろ気持ちが
Let me
悪い
read aloud.
と以下朗読します。
When Kraus tries to show kindness, it only makes me feel more
クラウ
wretched.
スの気遣いはむしろ私を惨めにさせるだ
Sometimes,
け。
I think you might even be trying to humiliate me
そ
further.
うして私を恥ずかしめているのではないかとさえ思う時があります。
Therefore, we can tell that
以上
Natsuhi-san
から夏日さんがそんな気遣いを見せていた夫を嫌悪していたことが伺
repaid
え
her
ます。
husband's kindness with contempt.
待ちなさい。確かに最初はそう
I thought
思っ
that
た
the
こともあり、
beginning.
まだ日々を不安に過ごす私が気遣いを素直に受け取れず、
When I was still overwhelmed with
邪推
unease,
して
I
そう
couldn't
記
accept his
してしま
kindness,
ったこともあったかもしれません。
and I wrote of my distrust from time to time.
私はやがてそんな夫の気遣いに気づいて、
But I
その気
eventually
持ちを受け入れるようになるのです。
realized he's sincere and grew to accept his feelings.
その記述は日記帳のどこにも登場しませんが
Nothing like that appears in any of these diaries.
日記にさえ書かない
I never wrote it down.
秘められた気持ちというものもあります。
Feelings were so secret.
あらゆる証拠品と証言から多角的に構築して
Judging by many diverse bits of evidence and
あなた
testimony,
が夫に激しい嫌悪を持っていた
It's
こと
clear you
は明
despise
らか
your
です。
husband.
そして逆にあなたがおっしゃるような
there exists no
やがて
evidence
受け入れるようになっていったことを示す証拠は
that you
存
eventually
在しま
accepted
せん。
his feelings as you claim.
私は夫
I
を
love my
愛していま
husband.
した。
Loved? You don't love your husband anymore? When did you come to like him? Why did you?
そ
Was
の
this
発
just for
言
the
を
purpose of a
赤
promise?
き真実に昇華させる証拠証言の構築はできません。
Is that why you killed him? You fell out of love with him? You thought you loved him? He's dead? I love my husband. True. I'm just being an asshole. I'm just being an asshole. Alright. You can't find any testimony or evidence that can be used to elevate the statement to the level of red truth, right?
愛を語るにも証拠がいるというので
Does
すか。
anyone need evidence to say they're in love? Apparently so.
赤き真実以外は何も信
You
じら
can't
れません。
trust anything besides the red truth.
赤くない発言は何の証拠にもならない。何の信用もできない。
Statements that aren't red don't count as evidence at all, and they can't be trusted at all.
赤くない文字はすべて私を欺くための偽りです。
All non-red letters are falsehoods that exist to deceive me, like that entire diary. Joke's on you, I wrote an entire diary to fuck with anyone who tried to read it. Oh! I love you. How about you say that? You're like, you see that entire book? I wrote it to fuck with anyone who tried to mess with me. They try to read my diary, they hear this crazy rant about how much I hate him. They try to use that against me, and I'm like, get fucked, buddy, I love him.
白い文字で愛を語られて誰が信じるんです？
I love you. Who would believe that when spoken with white text?
赤くない言葉なんて
No non-red
何
words
も
can ever
信
be
用で
trusted.
きない
My next relationship. Say you love me. Say it in red. Alright, well, non-red words can never be trusted. Okay. I know they're saying this to the audience. And in fact, this entire section's been like
こ
just
の世で
audience tag.
信じられるのは赤き真実とそれを得るために主に捧げる
All I can
供
trust in the
物
world
の
are the
証
red
拠品
truth
だけです。
and the pieces I offer to my master to gain it. Gotta become a witch to get into a relationship, apparently. Also, on a highly amusing note, no non-red words can ever be trusted is a statement stated in white. Therefore, it cannot be trusted. Fun fact. Fun fact, right? All I can trust in this world are red truth and the piece of evidence I offer to my master to gain it. Also not spoken in red. Since none of these statements are red, none of them can be trusted. Thank you, Furuto Erica. You probably shouldn't speak in white anymore.
真実を語れぬ嘘つき人間どもめ
Lying humans who can't speak the
赤
truth.
き真実なき人間に愛も心も真実も語る資格なんてないんです。
Humans lacking the red truth have no right to speak of love or the harder
知
truth.
ってました。
Did you know?
男はあなたたち女が思ってるほどバカではありませんよ。
Men aren't as stupid as women think they are.
男は女の愛しているなんて。
Yeah, she's actually true in terms of the game. In terms of the game, she's speaking the truth. However, because it is white truth, it is not actually true. And you can't use something... And you can't use red truth to prove that red truth is true, because that would be, because that's impossible. Or wait. Yeah, you can't use... That would be circular reasoning, sorry. I'll be more specific. That's circular reasoning. Red truth is true because it's red, or because red truth is defined as being true, is a complete circle, which is illogical. Who said the red can be trusted? Yeah, it can't be trusted, because anyone who says red truth is true is lying to you, can be lying to you, even if it's said in red. Because red truth is defined as being true because someone told you in red that it was true. And said that because it was red, it was inherently true. Circular reasoning to prove that red truth is true. We've proven red truth non-existent. It doesn't exist. And it can't be true. But anyway, for the game's purposes, the red truth is true. Men never really take it seriously when a woman says, I love you.
かわいそうな人。
What a pitiful person.
本当に人を愛した
I
こと
see
が
you
ないの
never
に。
truly loved someone.
探偵に恋愛は不要です。
Romance is unnecessary for a detective? I thought without love it couldn't be seen. Oh,
恋
well.
愛という単語など殺人動機を示す以外で使用した覚えがありません。
I don't think I've ever used the word romance except to explain a motive for murder.
あなたが何と言おうと、私たちは愛し合っていました。
No matter what you say, we loved each other.
私が愚痴ばかりを日記に記していたことは、夫にも謝らなければならないことです。
I should be apologizing to my husband for always writing down my complaints and nothing else.
しかし私は夫に心を捧げ
But
て
I
いました。
devoted my heart to him. Axioms don't need to be proven true.
それは
Axioms
たと
are.
え証拠で示せなくても、それが真実なんです。
Right. Should be apologizing to my husband for writing down my complaints. I've devoted my heart to him, though. Even if I can't prove it, it's the truth.
却下します。
Rejected.
往生際が悪いですよ。
You don't know when to give up, do you?
証拠と証言からあなたが後ろ宮家も夫も
By now, due to evidence and
全て
testimony,
憎悪していたことはもはや明白なのですから。
it's clear you hated both your husband and the Ashiramiya family. Okay, here's your chance, Natsuhi. None of that was spoken in red. Come at me with the text in red, bitch.
そうよ。
That's right.
私は何度も聞いてるわよ。あなたが陰口を言っているのをね。
I can't even count the number of times I've heard you complain.
あなただって秀吉さんの陰口を口にされた日もあったではありませ
And
ん
you've
か。
never talked behind Hideyoshi's back? The diaries are red? Does that mean the text is in red? Or the book is red?
主人を殺したくせに。
Damn it, you killed my husband.
何よその口の利き
How
方
dare
は。
you say that?
死になさいよ。死んで主人に詫びてきなさいよ。
Die and apologize to my husband. Nazi doesn't know what a red
乱
truth
暴
is.
は
That's
や
more
めてく
likely.
ださい、エヴァさん。
Cease your violence, Ava-san.
今は私が犯人を追及して断罪する甘美な時
This is
間。
now the precious moment where I question and convict the
あ
culprit.
なたのものではありませんよ。
Not yours, okay?
さて、そんなは彼女は数年を経て表向きは生活に馴染んだように見えましたが、
Over the next several years, you appear to have gotten used to her new way
実
of life.
際は心の中に強い憎悪を募らせたままでした
But。in actuality, an intense hatred still lurked in her heart.
そんな彼女の中にいつか復讐したいと思う気持ちが芽生えたとしても、
Taking
何の
that
不
in
思議もありま
consideration,
せんでした。
there'd be nothing odd at all about her deciding to take revenge.
勝手なことを言わないで。
Don't act like you know what I'm thinking. Each time Erica read Natsuhi's diaries one after another, she exposed more of Natsuhi's emotions during those painful days. Natsuhi hadn't written them to leave those words behind. She'd written them to forget the memories and seal them away. That's why she wrote down her feelings during those painful days. Locked them up and sealed them away for all eternity. Guess you should have burned them. However, Erica claimed these were Natsuhi's true hidden feelings that had been locked away and concealed. Since it had already been concluded that Natsuhi was a murderer, everyone accepted Erica's claim. By this point, the red truth wasn't even necessary to establish Natsuhi's motive. But it's not trustworthy unless it's red. What? As long as the reason seemed plausible, everyone would believe it. No matter how much Natsuhi might object, no one would believe her. No one could accept the truth Natsuhi spoke of about the days she spent loving her husband. That had been painted over by a false truth in which she hated her husband and swore revenge against him. The pen of the gods that composed the truth had been given to Erica.
だから何?
A real lesson in Umineko, never write in red.
あんたの事情なんて知ったことじゃないわよ。
Who gives a damn about your past?
人殺し。人殺し。
Murder. Is that person kill it? Is that person kill?
おやめなさい。 私には夏日さんの気持ちもよくわかるの
I
で
can
す。
understand how Natsuhi is something.
いつかこういう日も来るのではないかと思っておりました。
I always thought this day would come eventually.
おいたわしや。
It's some it might be a conjugation of koros. Or she is koroshi koroshi an adjective? It might be an adjective. Koroshi, adjective for killer maybe? You're saying hito koroshi. That would be like person, and it sounds like a conjugation of to kill? I'm assuming it's an adjective. Adjectivified? Whatever you want to say that. Alright. Poor thing, poor thing. Yes. Yeah, it's murderer, for sure. I'm just breaking it down in my head as to how it would work. I think because I don't think koroshi is I don't know a conjugation that would result in koroshi from koros. So so it's probably like the adjective version of kill. It's like korosu. Korosu is like the default root verb, right? I think she's just one of those pitiable victims. Fathers. Wild life.
私は奥様のその心の痛みを存じておりました。
I knew of the pain in Madam's
そ
heart.
してその支えになりたいと日
I
々
tried to
思っ
support
て
her.
力及ばずこのようなことに。
Look at what happened. Disaster, am I right, Goda?
僕に
I don't.
は
And now the willingness of the servants to go along with things is in Natsuhi's detriment. I mean, she used it to get them to hide a murder. And now, it's not working out for her. I don't even understand.
わからない。
The emotions of love and hate.
あなたにもいつかわかるわ。
You will one day.
そしてそれは生きる目的にも
Become a reason to live.
殺す目的にもなり
A
得る。
reason to kill.
本当に
Is Aunt Natsuhi
夏日おばさんが犯人なのか。
really the culprit?
はあ、それを言われると
Well, now that you mention it,
夏日さん以外に犯人の可能性のある人がいらっしゃいました
it's just one person beside Natsuhi-san that might be the culprit. What?
何？おい、ふざけるなよ。
Are you serious?
なんでそんな大事なことを早く言わないんだ。
Why didn't you say something that important sooner?
夏日さん
Natsuhi-san?
実はあなた以外にも犯行の可能な方が一人いらっしゃるんです。
There is a little bitter, yeah. Truth is, there's one person beside you for whom the crime was possible.
あなたがどうしても犯人でないとおっしゃるなら、
If you truly claim you aren't the culprit,
その方が犯人ということになってしまうん
it
で
means
すが
that、person must be the culprit. Oh?
それは誰だ？
Who is
誰
it?
なんだ？
Who? Who?
後宮金蔵さんです。
Ushiromiya Kinzo-san. Why not? He is alive, right? We've proven Kinzo is alive. He could be the killer. I don't know why no one ever brought him up. I mean, I didn't bring him up because I know he's fucking dead, and I think that's a bad argument. From my perspective, I'm not going to bring that up as the person reading this novel. And Battler should know it, so he should be able to say it. What about Kraus? Kraus was already declared in red text to not be the killer. Just say Ushiromiya Kinzo-san is the killer. That would work. And the only reason it works is because Battler proved him alive in this case. But I think Erica probably has the solution for that, so if she says that, he's just going to say what it is. And he was proven alive, in air quotes, sorry. He was proven alive because Erica was unable to prove that he was dead, but he is dead. Early this morning, Kinzo-san went outside through the window of the third floor study. He disproved the proof that he was dead. Yes. He may or may not be alive. He's proven possibly alive here, because there's insufficient evidence to prove that he's dead. Early this morning, Kinzo went outside through the window of the third floor study and his location's unknown, making him possibly alive. Isn't that right, Battler-san? Just like Natsuhi-san. Kinzo-san has no alibi whatsoever. The truth is, for this crime, it was possible for Kinzo-san to be the culprit as well. I just assumed he never existed in the first place. I totally forgot about him until now. Allow me to apologize. She didn't look shy or apologetic in the slightest. Erica bowed in an unpleasant a manner as possible. She held a grudge ever since her defeat in the study battle. Natsuhi-san, you gained Kinzo-san's trust and are the person who served closest to him, right? You should know better than anyone else, right? This incident is actually the crime of the family head carried out by the Ushiromiya? Kinzo-san? Maybe? You dare? I dare. All that apparently a woman may do, yeah, sure. Oh, call father a criminal? Oh, she dares. Don't worry. I've prepared more than enough evidence and testimony. Explain the wide if Kinzo was actually the culprit. Oh, she's ready? She's ready to blame him? Okay, okay. Sign me up. If you say, for example, you put yourself on the line to cover for Kinzo's crime, I'm more than capable of supporting you. Ever since the late period of the author Ellery Queen, didn't she just say Kinnen? Even the theory created by the detective can sometimes change the plot itself. You really can't afford to be careless in this day and age. Well, you're under some pressure, Natsuhi. Please father like a culprit. Natsuhi-san? Calm down. Place your hand on your chest and think carefully. If you can accuse Kinzo-san of being the culprit, this entire case will be resolved. You'll no longer be held accountable for another person's actions. Your honor will be restored. In other words, by pushing the crime on Kinzo, Natsuhi would be saved. However, I have been entrusted with the honor of the Ushiromiya family. My father. You really think I would defile father's honor, the Ushiromiya family honor? Anje? Oh, is it Anje and not Enje? Hmm. We have to wait until Anje's name shows up again. I thought they were saying Enje. I thought they were saying NJ, and that just didn't jive very well in English, so they made it an A. It is NJ in the game files? Really? Just to clear away the false accusations that made against me? Of course, Natsuhi knew that she wasn't the culprit. He also knew that Kinzo wasn't. So being framed herself and pushing the blame onto Kinzo were both unacceptable, unbearable outcomes.
いいんですか?
Are you sure? Are you sure? NJ, it's actually NJ, it's not Anjay. In Japanese, it is ENJIE. Or actually, yeah. Yeah. Here, I'll give a nice copy paste. I'll even post it. Let's see. Here's the Japanese, my dude. Those are E's, not I's. It's written in katakana. Capital I's are E's. Yes, they pronounce it correctly in Japanese. It's NJ in Japanese. If it sounds like an A, it's wrong. The A is like, I can go find an A. I find a nice copy paste of the A. Oh, that's gonna be annoying. Good enough for me. There's A, in case you're wondering. That's what an A looks like. Katakana.
すでに散々立証しております通り。
I looked on the wiki. I looked on the wiki and they gave me in katakana, not Japanese, or not hiragana. Which is, oh, okay, a thing. Her name's actually written. It's like, I think there was furigana, but like, for like one of the, for the kanji that makes her name, but like, I don't think furigana come over when I copy paste kanji. Are you sure? As I've already established quite thoroughly, alibis have been proven for everyone except you. If you won't accuse Kinzo-san,
やはりあなたが犯人だということで、今度こそ本当に
then this time it really will be clear you are the culprit.
特定され、真実となってしまいますよ。
You are the culprit. It'll become the truth, right?
私を犯人だと決めつけることがあなたの真実だというのなら
If you intend to label me as the culprit and call that your own personal truth, you know what would be funny if right here Natsuhi just decided to like, if Natsuhi actually solved the case herself and told Erika what it was, that would be some funny shit where she's like, you dumbass, what about this shit? And she's like, wait, fuck, wait, really?
お好きになさればいいでしょう
Do whatever you like.
私が無実であることを神様はきっとご存知です
I'm sure God knows of my innocence.
必ずやいつか
Eventually he will
私の
prove
無
it.
実を証明してくれます
If it came to a choice between her and Kinzo being framed, Natsuhi would sacrifice herself. Perhaps that was her way of protecting the Ishiramiya family's honor.
Natsuhi.
Aunt Natsuhi.
チャンスをあげたのに。
And I even gave you a chance. Stupid woman. This future where your name will eventually be cleared doesn't exist for any of you, nor any of the pieces on this board. Natsuhi had made her decision. If they were going to call her the culprit, she'd let them. She boldly rejected the thought of selling Kinzo's honor to gain a momentary truth where she wasn't the culprit. Therefore, the tale was woven with her as the culprit. In the future, if the accusations against her are proven false, this tale will probably be rewritten. However, that future will never come. I think truth is a fleeting thing. Even if I'm a good person until my death, if some heartless person after my death overwrites the records and says I wasn't a good person, and that is shared with everyone else, well, then, even with all the goodness in which I live my life, it could be overwritten easily. And so I think that I won't live as a good person for all eternity.
金蔵さんが犯人でないとおっしゃるならば、
If you claim that Kinzo-san was not the culprit,
金蔵さんに犯行が不可能であるというアリバイが必要です。
you will need an alibi proving the crime was impossible
そ
for
うでなくては真の意味で夏日さんを犯人
him.
だと
Otherwise,
特
we
定で
cannot
きま
truly
せ
be
ん。
certain you're the culprit, Natsuhi-san. Erica is probably known for a long time. Kinzo is little more than an illusion to make the inheritance problem more uncertain. However, it would be very hard to prove he was an illusion. The only way to do this would be to confirm Kinzo's death, but as has been made known by the Red Truth in previous games, Kinzo died a long time ago, and in the 5th game his corpse hasn't even appeared. In a situation like this, it wouldn't be easy to absolutely prove his death. But can Erica do it? If Kinzo's death was confirmed, it would practically erase that defeat in the study. It was the only way that Erica had of removing the humiliation of that loss. And there was something that could confirm Kinzo's death almost as certainly as real proof. And that was the confession of the culprit. It would mean having Natsuhi herself acknowledge that Kinzo no longer existed in this world. That way it would be acknowledged that Erica's reasoning in the study was correct. That loss would be painted over and it would be rewritten as Erica's victory. Battler hung suspended by Delanor's red longsword. Beato had disappeared by having her existence denied, and her minions had gone too. In this cathedral they had disappeared from. Only Natsuhi and the witches convicting her remained.
あくまでも
Oh.
金蔵は生きてて島のどこかに残っていると言い
You
張る
claim
のね
Kinzo is alive and remains somewhere on this island? We're still going.
そうです。
Correct.
お父様はご健在でおられます。
Father's in good health.
誰が何と言おうと、私はそれを翻します。
No matter what anyone says, I won't change my statement.
過去のゲームの赤き真実で
The red truth from the previous game
金
says
蔵が
that
すでに死亡していることは
Kinzo's already
確定してるわ。
you can't use red truth that isn't proven. Or divination. And you also couldn't use that. Why didn't you use that to prove it earlier?
でもそれじゃあ
That's
ベル
not
の
enough
気
to
が収
satisfy
まらない
you,
わけで
right,
しょ。
Burn?
ええそうよ
That doesn't work.
完璧な勝利を私は求めてる
I'm
の
after a perfect victory.
だから赤で金蔵の死が決まってるからそれでチェックメイトなんて面白
There's
くな
nothing
い
interesting
の
about getting a checkmate because Kinzo's death was confirmed by red.
夏日の口からリザインと言わせて勝利したいのよ
I want to win by forcing Natsuhi to say she's resigned.
ならやってごらんなさい。お手
I'm
並み
trying.
を拝見させてもらうわ。
Show us what you've got. Alright, prove
我
Kinzo is
が
dead.
主、今こそ我らに完全なる勝利を。
My master, let us now achieve a perfect victory.
無論よ
Of course.
夏日
Natsuhi.
あなたは金蔵は間違いなく生きているけれどその所在はわからないと
You
い
say
う
Kinzo's alive, but you don't know where he is, correct?
ええ、そうです。
Right.
お父様は窓よりお出になられて行方知れず。
Father left through the window and his location is
全
unknown.
く困った方です。
He's so troublesome sometimes.
ラムダ
Lambda.
金蔵の24時から朝までの所在について
I'm
確
gonna make
実にす
Kinzo's
るの
location from 2400 until the morning absolutely clear. Oh? And how will you do that?
金蔵は24時から朝までずっと同じ部屋に滞在したわ
From 2400 until morning, Kinzo stayed in the same room. Please prove. You're using divination to prove this. Is this not a violation of Nox's second?
ん？そりゃそうでしょ、死体なん
That's
だか
true.
ら。
He's a corpse after all.
うん。いや、ごめん。
Sorry.
そうよね。
That's
そうで
totally
しょ、
right.
口を挟ま
I
ない
won't butt
わ。
in.
面白そうだから続
Sounds
けてちょ
interesting.
うだ
Keep
い。
going.
これより金蔵という言葉を生きている
From
金
now
蔵
on,
と
I'll
いう
use the
意
word
味で
Kinzo
使
to
う
refer to the living Kinzo. Apparently, we're not commenting that that's a Nox's second violation, where Burn Castell is stating things via red text without any proof.
何しろ夏日は生きていると主張
Nazi
する
is
のだか
claiming he's
ら
alive.
続けて赤き真実
I'll
を
say
語
more
る
with red text.
金蔵は
Kinzo
屋
does
敷
not
以外
exist
の
anywhere
場所に
outside
は
the
存
mansion.
在そうよねエリカ
Isn't that right, Erica? Also not proven.
はい。
My
我が
master.
金蔵の姿を探し、
I
屋
searched
敷
for
の
Kinzo all over the
外、敷地
premises
内をくまなく捜索しま
outside
し
the
た。
mansion. It is physically impossible to cover like 100 kilometers in 100 square kilometers. Every nook and cranny in... How big is this island? Several kilometers across at bare minimum? So you're looking at like 10 plus square kilometers. Search. detective authority.
しかし、
Okay.
金像
I
は
was
発
unable
見
to
で
find
き
him.
ませんでした。
Because of the detective's authority, Erica could find all clues. Therefore, if Erica was unable to find a hint Kinzo existed outside the mansion, it was the same as proving he didn't exist outside the mansion. I see. Therefore, Bernkastel repeated the truth of Erica's.
金蔵は屋敷以外の場所に
Kinzo
存
doesn't
在
exist
し
outside the
ない。
mansion.
ねえ、夏日。
Hey, Natsuhi.
なら、金蔵が存在するなら、屋敷内のどこかにいることになるわ。
Kinzo does exist, it means he must be somewhere inside the mansion.
どこに金蔵が隠れているのか。
You have any
心
idea
当
where
たりが
Kinzo
あっ
might
た
be
ら
hiding?
教えてくれない？
わか
How
り
would I
かね
know?
ます。何しろこの天気です。
Think of the weather.
中庭へ出られた後、お屋敷のどこかへ隠れ、
There'd be nothing strange about him leaving the
雨を
courtyard
しのがれて
to
いた
hide
として
somewhere in the
も
mansion to dry
何
out.
も不思議はありません。
私はこれからも同じ質問を数度繰り返すわ。
From this point forward, I'll repeat the same thing
あ
several
なた
times.
に名誉ある幸福
I'll
の
give you
機
many
会を
chances
数
for
度
honorable
与
surrender.
え、痩せ我慢が過ぎると本当の名誉まで失
If you're
う
too
ことに
stubborn,
なるわよ。
you'll lose even your true honor.
いかなる脅しにも私が屈することはありません。
Alright.
あなたは本当にいじめがいのある駒だわ。
So, detective authority is a curious thing where she can say, I use my detective authority to say that there's only two people who don't have alibis, and that would be Kinzo and Natsuhi. Which is apparently a lie, which is a lie, but she's able to detective authority it. Can she not lie with her detective authority to say she couldn't find any... Could she not lie with her detective authority to say she found evidence of Kinzo? I'm just saying, like, detective authority seems like a pretty bad authority if you can deceive anyone with it. And just say whatever you want, which is what she's done a couple times. I don't actually care that she's lying or not, but if she's saying detective authority didn't find anything, I know he's already dead, but Erica can't lie with the red. Erica can't lie with the red. Bernkastel can't lie with the red. Erica can lie as much as she fucking wants, because she's already lied, right? Like, we know that the truth is that Natsuhi is not the killer because it was told via red truth, but she said that there's only two possibilities, Kinzo and Natsuhi. As detective, she's correct, and she's got to be correct, and she has all the clues. So if she's able to say that that's true, she can lie, and she's able to lie. She's able to lie about what she's detected with her authority, right? I don't really care that she can or can't. I just find it interesting that you don't just turn around and contest it and be like, she says these are the only possibilities, that's wrong. And then see if Bernkastel reads that to say there is only two possibilities of the killer, you and Kinzo. If she can't say that, you're probably wrong. But I don't think Natsuhi is smart enough to do that, but it would be funny if she did.
では続けるわ
Oh
よ。
well. Let's continue.
以上の理由から金蔵さんが屋敷以外の場所にいることは考えられ
The
ませ
detective
ん。
is not allowed to falsify their viewpoint. They're allowed to make mistakes in reasoning, though. She's not making mistakes in reasoning. She's actually falsifying her viewpoint. So, Erica is fully aware that Natsuhi is not guilty, but is intentionally making her out to be guilty. Therefore, she is falsifying her viewpoint. And if the detective's allowed to falsify their viewpoint, not only would that probably be a violation of the rules somewhere, probably, but the Nox's rules somewhere, but it's also not a mistake in her reasoning because she's intentionally misidentifying the culprit. She is completely aware that she's wrong, but she's being wrong on purpose. And it's not to solve the riddle. Or the puzzle. Basically, the detective is giving false testimony, so clearly they can lie about what they found with their authority. Right? Doesn't matter. If she can say, but you know, I'm convicting you because you're guilty via my authority. I'm accusing you. When she knows it's wrong, then she's intentionally falsifying her viewpoint when she knows she's wrong and she says that. Anyway, not super important. It's unthinkable Kinzo could have been somewhere outside the mansion. Sure.
そこでまず書
First
斎
off,
のあった
I performed an
3階
extensive
を
search
徹
of the
底
third
的に
floor where
捜
the
索
study
しま
is.
した。
Sure.
だがどこにも隠れる場所はなかった。
So while she is true, it is true that she her evidence here is correct. It also means that she could be lying about other things. So, like, she has no reason to be lying in this scenario, and she'll probably only say the truth for her proofs of Kinzo being dead. Erica did not hear that red truth. It was spoken between Battler and Delanor, and commented on by... It was commented on specifically by Berncastel, Lambda Delta, and, like, Beatrice. And presumably they're not standing closer than Erica. As it wouldn't really make too much sense. And Battler's screaming his challenges out, so it's like, is she deaf? It's a lie by omission, they're allowed. No, I'm saying by accusing someone, she's not lying by omission. I'm saying by accusing the wrong person intentionally, that's not a lie by omission. That's falsifying the person you think is guilty. So simply by, like, carrying out her process, she's basically lying to people. Nox is 9th. She's allowed to let her own conclusion and explanation be heard. Therefore, she's allowed to lie. Okay. But in that case, she's also able to define things. To let their own conclusion. And her conclusion can be... Her conclusion can be like, I did this when she didn't do that. Because your conclusion can be... It was satisfactorily sealed. It can be like, I satisfactorily sealed the whole building. Did 1/3 of them. Thought it was enough. Or it was to her own satisfaction, i.e. she wanted to let someone in. 9th is also observers, not the detective. It's observers. Okay. That's true. It specified it. That's where Burns Red comes in. Yes. There was nowhere he could have been hiding. That's what I'm saying. Like, she doesn't actually have to do any of the things she said she does. She can lie and burn Castell. As long as burn Castell is a red truth, she can cover it. So she doesn't have to search. She just has to say she searched, and then Burn Castell will cover for her by saying it's true that he doesn't exist out there. Therefore allowing her to lie. She can say whatever she wants. And as long as it's in line with what the red truth would come up with, she's fine. There was nowhere he could have been hiding. Game board Erica shouldn't know the red. I mean, she knows a bunch of meta stuff. We couldn't find any trace of doubt on the 3rd floor. She was operating from meta information from the first minute she arrived. Then, where is Natsuhi-san? I don't know. If he isn't on the 3rd floor, perhaps he's hiding in the basement. Yes, the basement. The boiler room, that was underground storage room. Every part of your suspicious basement was also included in my search. Okay. No, I'm saying she's able to lie as long as the red truth proofs are correct. Because she's not required to speak honestly. Our search too? I didn't see Father anywhere. Remember, Father's body exists somewhere because they've used it. They've thrown it in the incinerator before. I'll say it again. Where's Kinzo, Natsuhi? In that case, he's probably on the 1st or 2nd floor. Process of elimination does tell us that, doesn't it? We thoroughly searched the 1st floor. And the result? Nothing. We're unable to find Father. I'll say again. Where was Kinzo-san, Natsuhi? Probably on the 2nd floor? How should I know where Father was hiding? Are you sure? You really don't know where Kinzo-san was hiding?
奥様が
Madam knows.
親方様がどこに隠れてご存知
Where Kinzo was hiding?
そんな
That's insane.
バカな。
そんなこと
Can't be true.
あるはずありません。
Both Shannon and Cannon knew that Kinzo was already dead. They didn't have a clue how Erika would use a phantom of a person who didn't exist to corner Natsuhi.
屋敷以外の場所に金
Kinzo
蔵
is nowhere
が
outside the
3
mansion.
階に
He's
金
not
蔵
on the
地
third
下
floor.
に金
He's
蔵
not in the
1
basement.
階
He's
に
not on the
以
first
上
floor.
から金蔵が存在しうる余地の検討は2階だけと
Therefore,
な
the
る
only
が
place Kinzo could possibly exist is the second floor.
赤き真実を認めるわ。
I accept that truth.
夏日
Natsuhi.
金蔵は2階
Kinzo
の
should be on
ど
the
こか
second
にいる
floor.
はず。まだどこに隠れて
Will you
るか
not tell
教え
us
て
where
く
he's
れない
hiding?
の？
But yes. It is believable they could search the entire mansion, assuming there are no hidden rooms or locked doors to them. It is not believable they could search the entire island. It is impossible to search this island in this storm in the hours she had since arrival to find the body. Especially given that it has been multiple years, you would actually have to dig up every square foot of the island. Because here's what happens. Nox says she has the clues needed, but in the human world, that wouldn't fly. Yeah, apparently she magically searched every square foot of the island, including like 8 feet plus deep, everywhere. Which is quite impressive. Almost like it's witchcraft. Because, you know what's funny? He could have just taken a boat. Actually, fun fact. They haven't proven he doesn't exist off the island. Could he have taken a rowboat and been 2 feet off the island? Sure, not very safe. Kinzo's crazy. Kinzo's crazy. He got on the damaged boat, the one at Kuadorian, and tried to row to the next island. After killing these people. They haven't proven he exists. They've proven. I think they said, hold up. He's nowhere outside the mansion. But how would you prove that? How would you prove that he doesn't exist? Detectives are witches? You were siding with the witch the whole time? I guess so. Do not tell us where he's hiding? She says they investigate everywhere, and I'm like, how did you search the entire planet, including off the island? Oh well. Will you not tell us where he's hiding? Someone on the second floor, where is he?
何度聞かれても答えられないものは答えられません。
It won't change the fact I don't know.
エリカ
Erika.
それでは端から順に2階のすべてを捜索していきなさい。
Erika, start from the beginning. Go in order. Investigate the entire second floor.
すべての手がかりを絶対に見落とさず、いかなる隠し扉も隠し部屋も看破できる探偵権限で。
Use the detective authority. Avoid missing a single clue and see through all types of hidden doors and rooms.
はい、
Yes,
わた
master.
主。夏日さんって結構頭悪い方ですよね。
Natsuhi-san's dumb, isn't she?
まだ話の落としどころ見
You
え
still
ないん
can't
です
see where we're
か？
going with this?
余計なことは言わなくていいわ。
No need to talk more than necessary.
さあエリカ、
Come on, Erika.
全員を引き連れて捜索を始めなさい。
Take everyone with you and begin the investigation. Kinzo fled to Inamizawa. Of course. I will posit that Kinzo exists in a different space-time. He exists inside the mansion on the second floor in the room they specified. He is alive. And it is a different timeline. He escaped the timeline. Eric used her detective authority to take everyone, even including Natsuhi, and go up to the second floor to search every room, starting at one end. Alas, detective would say she had to find a clue to that. And we say, the body is the clue. Even for rooms that were thought to have nothing at all to do with the crime, Erica didn't relax her search in the slightest.
まだ金蔵
Her
さんが
search
ど
was
こ
thorough
に
in
隠
every
れてい
single
る
room they
か
moved through them all.
教えてくださらないのですか？
You won't tell us where Kinzo-san's hiding?
いい加減になさい。
Stop saying that.
私は知らないと何度口にすればいいのですか？
How many times do I have to say I don't know?
夏日さん、この
Natsuhi-san.
まま調べていってもきっと 金蔵さんは見つかりませんよね。
Even if we keep searching, we'll never be able to find him at this rate, right? Of course, Kinzo doesn't exist. No matter how long this search continues, it's a waste of time. It was known by Erika, the witch's piece, and Natsuhi, the one who knew the truth.
となると、捜索はあの廊下の突き当たりの部屋を最後とします。
Alright. I'll propose that he actually travels through time. Is he a time leaper? Yes, he travels through time. And every time he does it, someone's neck explodes. Someone's neck explodes, and that's someone in his family dies. That's what happens. The proof is there. You just didn't assemble the facts correctly. You weren't aware. You weren't aware of you weren't aware of Kinzo's abilities. Magical in nature. Magic is not allowed, but it is what it is. In that case, this search will end in the room at the far end of that corridor.
つまり、あの部屋を残して、
In other words, it will have been proven that Kinzo wasn't in any of the rooms
す
except
べて
that
の
one.
部屋
What do you
に
think about that?
金蔵さんがいなかったことが証明されると、どうなると
He's
思
not
い
on
ま
the
す
third floor of the basement. You can't actually use that though. That would be a magical device. He isn't in any of the rooms on the second floor except the one at the end. If he really did exist in the mansion, it had been proven he could only exist in the room at the end. In other words, this was Hempel's Raven. I mean, maybe. But that's only because you've used red text and you haven't red texted that he exists in this room. Because it had been established that living Kinzo couldn't exist anywhere except the final room at the end of the corridor. That meant a living Kinzo existed in that final room. And that room at the end of the corridor was...
突き当たりの部屋って
Which room was at the end of the corridor again? Lambda Delta was munching on a refill of popcorn.
夏日の部屋です。ラムダデルタ卿。
His room, Lambda Delta. We've already done this logic though. We actually did this logic literally 5 minutes ago, where we used process of elimination and came to the wrong conclusion. So this is kind of funny. Let's see. Does Natsuhi lose twice to the same trick? The same trick. They're using process of elimination, and then proving that they've checked everywhere. Do they lose the same trick twice? Let's see if she comes up with a solution that would work if she wasn't wrong. That's what I'm hoping Natsuhi comes up with. I want Natsuhi to have a defense that would work if she was not incorrect. Like obviously Kinzo is dead / doesn't exist. What is the proof that would work if he wasn't dead? That's Natsuhi's room, alright.
つまり
In other words,
金蔵は夏日の部屋以外に
Kinzo had no
隠れ
place
場
to
所は
hide
な
but
かった
Natsuhi's
という
room.
ことになるのよ赤で言う必
Do
要
I
は
need to say it in red? I guess so. Of course.
夏日の部屋を除くすべての場所に金蔵は存在しない
Kinzo doesn't exist anywhere outside Natsuhi's room.
というわけ
Well then.
残すところはこの部屋だけとなりました。
That means this room is the only
以
place
上
left.
によりこの部屋以外に金蔵さんはいらっしゃらないこ
It
とに
means
なりました。
Kinzo-san isn't anywhere outside this room.
ここは
Isn't this
私
my
の
room?
部屋ではあります。私の部屋のどこにお父様がいると
Where in my room do you claim father's hiding? Yeah. In a rage, Natsuhi unlocked the door to a room and put it inside. I don't see him. Of course, Kinzo is nowhere to be seen.
どこにお父様の姿があるというのです。
Do you see father anywhere in here? Look.
なるほど。
He is
い
in
らっ
here.
しゃられないようですね。私たちが来ることを察知して、
Did he
また
realize we were
窓から
coming and
お逃げ
escape out the
にで
window?
もなったのでしょうか。
I guess so. If Kinzo wasn't in this last room and he didn't exist anywhere, there's no living Kinzo inside the mansion, there was no living Kinzo inside the mansion. Therefore, no living Kinzo existed. However, Erika didn't make that argument. So, conclusion. Conclusion. Hold up. Can I go back to the red text? Hold up. Damn it. I was gonna check the red text. I wanted to see if they said living Kinzo. Because I was gonna say, well, they just proved that he didn't exist anywhere, which doesn't make any sense. Because obviously Kinzo exists. Even his ashes would be a trace of him existing. And she said she found no trace. But let's see. And we know there's a body because they used the body in multiple arcs. So does this mean that she's operating under a false principle? Living Kinzo. They did use Living Kinzo for the red text? Okay. If they used Living Kinzo for the red text, then I have a simple solution that should get you out of this. Kinzo lives. He committed his murders. He died. No, I'm okay. Nazi says he's still alive. So I'm going with this plan. Kinzo was alive. I'm writing a solution for her. Kinzo was alive. He jumped from the window. He escaped. He committed his murders. He then left and died. She couldn't find the living Kinzo because he's dead. He died of his injuries. Okay. Any objections to Kinzo killing anyone and then proceeding to die somewhere that wasn't obvious? His corpse doesn't count as existing according to the red? That doesn't make sense. They've seen Kinzo's body. Kinzo's body has been identified as being Kinzo's body before in the previous chapters, and they can't make things that don't exist. He's... I'm not sure about that. Anyway, she pointed it out herself without making a checkmate. It was because Berncastel didn't want to win by cornering Natsuhi with a red truth. She wanted to force Natsuhi to accept a humiliating resignation.
私がこれまで捜索してきたのは金蔵さんの姿だけではありません。
I've not only been searching for Kinzo-san himself all this time.
金蔵さんが24時から朝まで隠れていたことを示す痕跡です。
I've been looking for signs Kinzo hid somewhere between 2400 and the morning.
そして、
No
そ
such
れも
signs
存
exist.
在しませんでした。
つまり24時から朝までの間、
In other words, from 2400 until
金
morning.
蔵はある一室にこもり
Means it
続
was
けた
always
こ
holed
と
up in
に
the
な
same
ってて
room. There's a problem with what I'm saying? Do you want to explain? I mean, you can, like, apart from the fact that he's obviously dead. But I mean, the body exists. Like, we've seen the body, and it's been confirmed as Kinzo's body before. In red, so it has to be a body that exists. In other words, from 2400 until morning, Kinzo was holed up in the same room.
そしてそれは夏日の部屋という
That
こ
was
とだわ。
Natsuhi's room.
赤き真実によるチェックメイトが金蔵の幻という駒を夏日の部屋にまで追い詰めたということよ。
Finally cornered the piece known as Kinzo's phantom inside Natsuhi's room, because it's confirmed as Kinzo's because they said there were no body doubles, by the way. Not because they thought it was Kinzo's. Corpse doesn't mean the person according to red, at least but Kinzo. Okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm saying, like, Kinzo can exist. Kinzo can exist for the first day and then perish. Alright, that means the checkmate of retreats finally cornered the piece. Known as Kinzo's phantom inside the Nazi's room.
ねえ、夏日さん。
Also, live omission. I didn't find anything excluding what I found. I didn't find anything that I liked or found. Didn't find anything implying she didn't find anything in the area she was looking for that she didn't find anything.
つまりあなたは朝までこの部屋で金蔵さんとご一緒だったことになるわけです。
I think the live omission, when you say you don't find anything, you're implying you didn't find anything in the area that they told you to search or that they were thinking of. Kinzo's now dead, so Nazi's in trouble. Nazi is not. I don't think Nazi's in trouble if he's dead now. I don't mind about that. I don't know if it would make her lose. I guess Kinzo would be a killer then. But it's a possibility. He might lose because of that, but like, I'm thinking of possibilities that would make Erica wrong, even if she can't find Kinzo. It means you were with Kinzo in this room until morning,
そ
Nazi.
れでもあなたは金蔵さんのことをご存知ないとお
You
っしゃ
claim
ら
you
れ
didn't
る
know
の
where
で
he
す
was?
か？
私が赤き真実で認めるわ。
She doesn't want to do it because it reveals the embezzlement because he would be dead. For reals? I'll acknowledge it with her truth. I guess that's
24
fair.
時から朝までの一晩、
During the night between 2400 and
生
morning,
きた金蔵は 夏日の部屋を除くすべての場所に存在
A
しな
living
い。
Kinzo could not have existed anywhere outside Natsuhi's room.
その真実から夏日の部屋にしか存在しなかったと議論を進めることを許すわ。
I permit you to use this truth to advance your argument about how he could only have existed in Natsuhi's room. Lacking evidence, we've used a lot of red lacking
司
evidence,
法取引
aka divination, a plea bargain.
ねえ夏
Nazi.
日、頭の悪いあなたでももうそろそろまずいと気づいてきたんじゃない？
Even someone as stupid as you must have realized the fix you're in now.
これが最後のチャンスよ。
Your last chance.
金蔵を犯人にしな
Make
さい。
Kinzo the culprit.
後宮家当主を犯罪者とし、自らの保身のために当主の栄光を自らの手で打ち壊してみせなさい。
All the Ishimiya family had a criminal and crushed the head's honor to
あ
protect
なた
yourself.
がその勇気を見せたら、あなたを
If you show you have the guts to do that,
当主をかばうために濡れ衣をかぶろうとした悲劇のヒロインに筋書きを変えてあげるわ。
if you show you have guts to do that, I'll change the plot into one of tragic heroines taking the blame to protect the family head.
お父様は無実です。
Father's innocent.
お父様を犯罪者にすることなど
I can't call
私
father
に
a
は
criminal.
断じてできません。
取引拒否。
She refused the deal. Okay, Burn.
いいわベル、やっちゃいなさい。
Do it.
24時から朝までの一晩、
During the night between 2400 and morning,
生きた金蔵の存在する余地はあなたのベッドの中以外に存在しない。
during the night between 2400 and morning, there exists no place for a living Kinzo to exist except inside your bed.
それは
And what?
どういう意味ですか？
You mean by that?
この部屋の徹底的な捜索
After conducting a thorough search
お
of
よ
this
び
room
厳重な
and a
科学
detailed
捜査の
scientific
結果
examination,
この部屋の全域で24時から朝までの間金蔵さん
I
が存
discovered
在し
Kinzo
ない
did
とい
not
う結
exist
果が出
anywhere
まし
in
た。
this room between 2400 and morning. Didn't you literally not do anything?
ただし
However, your
あな
bed's
た
the
の
only
ベッ
exception.
ドだけを除きます。
A shocked silence dominated the room. Natsuhi completely forgot to close her open mouth.
昨夜
Last night,
黄金発見の前後の頃
around the
推
time
定
the gold
23
was
時頃
discovered, so probably at around
3階までよ
2300,
り
Kinzo
脱出
escaped
した
from the
金
window
蔵
on
さ
the
ん
third
は
floor.
あなたの部屋のベッドの中にかくまわれていたとい
He
うこと
snuck
です。
into the bed in your
そ
room,
してさらに気の毒な捜査結果ですが
and as an even more unfortunate result from
あ
my
なた
investigation,
もこのベッドで就寝されていたことが
and proven you were
判明して
sleeping
い
in the
ます
bed.
重ねて復唱するわ。
I'll repeat.
24時から朝までの一晩、
From 2400
生
until
きた
morning,
金
a
蔵
living
の存
Kinzo
在する余地は夏日のベッドの中以外に存在し
could
な
only
い。
have existed inside Natsuhi's
そ
bed.
して夏日も昨晩同じベッドで就寝したわ。
Natsuhi only slept in that same bed.
あら、仲良しさんたちね。
Oh, look how close they
二
were.
人で仲良く枕を分けっこして眠ったわ
You
け
two
ね。
were so close to each other you were sharing the same pillow?
青き真実
Blue truth.
以上から後宮夏日と後宮金蔵には条項の可能性があったと
Therefore,
推
it's
測できる
suspected
わ。
Ushirimiya Natsuhi and Ushirimiya Kinzo had sexual relations with each other?
男女が同じ枕で一晩過ごして他に何を推測しろと？
Why else would a man and a woman share the same bed all night long?
無礼者
How rude. Think I would.
私が敬愛してやまないお父様となんて
Think I would do such a thing with the father I respected so much? Battler's corpse, meanwhile, 5 feet behind her,
許せません。
suspended by the red blade. I won't allow you to say such things.
夏日、
Nazi,
青き真実には
use the
赤
red
き
truth
真
to
実
counter
で
this
反
blue
論
truth.
なさい。もちろん魔女でないあんたに使える赤はない。
Oh wait, you aren't a witch. There's no red you can use.
だから私が代わりに赤
I'll
き真
speak
実
with
で
the
語
red
っ
in your
て
place.
私を納得させられる証拠を示せ
At
る
least I will
の
if you
よ
show
ね。
me convincing proof. Red truth doesn't require proof. You already said that.
な証拠
How could such proof exist?
あるわけがありません。私をどこまで愚弄するというの
Oh
ですか。
Lord, are you willing to sink to mock me?
おのれ
For humans whose names aren't Erica, it requires proof. Well, I don't know if we're gonna find this Natsuhi. But I think it's getting really late, so I think we need to ramp things up now. Good luck, Natsuhi. We'll find out if you're innocent or guilty, or if Battler comes back from death for the second time next time.